life-giving trees that flow in the breeze, giving us the air to breathe, came from the seeds that sons and daughters had sown, passing down histories through stories, genes, and bones. Hear the whispers of the past, dictate your prologue, a generational griot through which memories are prolonged. So we reach down like nourishing waters to seek truths, except we receive nourishment when we're digging the roots.
And thank you so much for joining us. Tonight is Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017. I am Nika Smith, and we have an amazing, as always, show ready and scheduled for you tonight for BlackProGen Live. Thanks so much for taking time out of your wonderful spring evening to join us in our join me and my panelists actually for another episode of genealogy and family history from a person of color's perspective. Before we jump into the conversation on the topic at hand tonight, just want to do a few reminders. Don't forget to join the conversation when it comes to BlackProGen Live. If you're watching tonight's episode, but you aren't able to participate in the live chat, feel free to, if you're watching it later, the recording or any other time, to tweet us at BlackProGen. Also, you can use the hashtag BlackProGen if you're wondering or going to comment on any of the content, or if you have something that you feel we might be interested in that you think we should talk about at a later date, feel free to tweet us and be sure to hashtag us. Tonight's topic: as more and more people migrated west, people of color populations began to emerge in new areas. There would be no Jimi Hendrix if there was no Seattle. Learn about records, resources, and more regarding people of color and their history in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. That is our topic for this evening. Also, before we get into our top 10 and do our panelist intros, also want to remind you to remember to subscribe to the Lowdown. Get the latest and the greatest from BlackProGen in your inbox. Subscribe to the Lowdown today. Check the description of the recording of this and any BlackProGen live episode for the link to subscribe to the Lowdown. Also, did you know that you can set reminders for upcoming episodes? There are 11 more episodes before 2017 ends. That's quite a few, right? Be sure to be sure to click the set reminder button next to the topics you're interested in so you won't ever miss a show. And that'll just send your phone a little ping. It'll add a reminder to your calendar, whatever you want it to do. We have a lot of topics that are left for this year. I'll be broadcasting live in 2 weeks from the Southern California Genealogy Jamboree. We'll be talking about people of color in the Northeast, in Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. We'll be broadcasting live again for the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute. I mean, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I know Ellen is definitely looking forward to the Getting Started with Latin Research show that we're going to be doing. There's a lot of stuff. So don't forget, go back to the main YouTube page. We've got all the episodes loaded for the rest of the year. Be sure to set reminders on those that you are interested in. And before we move to our content, let's go ahead and introduce all of the folks that are here live on the panel for this evening. Let's start down in the South in the dirty with the lady with the red hair and glasses. Unmute yourself, Miss Tony.
Hello, Den friends. I'm Tony Carrier from Low Country Africana, coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina, and you can find us on www.lowcountryafricana.com.
All right. Next up is the lady with the green name bar on her. We're wearing a t-shirt along with me. I guess we decided we were going to do the same sort of thing tonight. I know I'm representing the Bolivar Tigers. Yes. The
Okay.
B-Way. Hashtag B-Way for next season.
Roll Tide, baby. Hey, everyone. It's me, True, at mytrueroots.com. And stop on over and visit me and Granddaddy Ike and his 23 kids and 3 wives. And I'm glad to see you all out there in the chat room and learn something about the West Coast here.
All right, give Kermit some love in the back. We need to use him as a prop one day. Like, he needs a little mini mug so he can drink tea on several topics. I think we need to figure out how to get him
he
a little
needs
kid
a BlackProGen mug.
All right, up next is Bernice Bennett.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. We can hear you.
Okay, Bernice Bennett. I'm here from Maryland, and you can find me on Research at the National Archives and Beyond Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, amazing show coming up this Thursday. You'll hear about the topic later on in this show. Last but not least, before moi, is the lady in blue this evening with the tree above her head and glasses. Unmute yourself, Shelly.
Hello, this is Shelly, Family Tree Girl, FamilyTreeGirl.com from Virginia. Went totally blank there. Hope everyone's doing well and looking forward to a good show tonight.
All right. And thank you so much for all of our chatters that are over there. Some of our panelists are holding down the chat room tonight, including Teresa Vega, Linda Sims. We've got other people such as Mil Perkins, Denise Muhammad, who joins us every week. So thanks so much for joining us that are over there in the chat room. I forgot to remind everybody, too, if you're watching live, you can participate in the chat room. If you go to the main YouTube page, if you're watching on a computer, there is a live chat room to the top right-hand corner. Feel free to let us know your thoughts, feedback, and participate with the other chatters. If you're watching on a mobile device, the live chat room will be at the bottom of the screen if you're using the YouTube app. So thanks, everyone, for joining us in the chat room. We're going to get started with the top 10. We skipped an episode, but Shelly Murphy came back in awesome style to share the top 10 with us. Let me go ahead and get that loaded for you, ma'am. So tonight's top 10 is top 10 for people of color in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. This is, of course, care of Dr. Shelly Viola Murphy.
You go get me now.
All right. Number 10. Well, it's all about the people of color in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. Yo, wait a minute. When did people of color go there? It's cold. That's very true. I agree. It is freezing and it rains like 90% of the year. I'm probably totally offending people who live there, but that's my perception being somebody who lived in the Bay Area for a long time. That's all we know about that region. Thinking of Colorado, Jeff said, I like mountains because they make me feel small. I'm not sure who Jeff is. Who's Jeff, Shelly?
Jeff was someone rolling on the internet and made a comment.
Okay, so we'll never know who Jeff is. Is it Jeff Sessions? Is it somebody else?
No. He's not a genealogist or not Jeff Sessions. No.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But I put his name in proper citation, right?
She did. It's in the correct space. Angela would have to vouch to make sure the grammar is all correct. This is thinking about Washington, the state. Oh yeah. My son is having a fit tonight. I know, of course. What would BlackProGen be without somebody screaming in the background every week, right?
Or Percy Morgan.
Exactly. Or Percy.
Where's our Y-DNA person? Anyway?
I was about to say we're unbalanced out when it comes to male energy tonight for some strange reason. I don't know what happened. Okay, thinking about the state, Washington, the state. Are we there yet?
I can't even remember. I think it took us 3 days to drive out there. You know, we lived there for 3 years with the military, and we were actually there when 9/11 happened. So, I can totally relate about the 20 different raindrops and the mountains and everything else. And my kids were, I think they were both in middle school and elementaries, and they kept saying the same thing. Are we there yet? And we were moving there from Georgia at the time. So
I was just out there a couple months ago in Seattle, and that was a long flight from Virginia.
Yeah.
That's how people on the West Coast feel about DC.
Right.
It's like, gosh, New York, that's a long flight. It seems to me everyone that I know that was in the military was in Washington at some point, like the state of Washington. I don't know why.
That's Colorado Navy.
Yeah, military stuff. Number 7, this is how we preserve our genealogy records of the Northwest. We freeze them. Novel concept. Wonder if you have to wear the gloves to get them out of the ground if we put them in the ground and freeze them. Ain't no way I'm going to dig for roots in a Mile High City. Well, it's interesting you say this because, isn't there or am I getting them confused? No, that's confusion with Salt Lake City where the sea level is different. And so actually, no, it affects people in Colorado as well, doesn't it? People playing sports, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
casino's at the top there in Denver.
Oh, okay.
The Mile High City.
The
It's a
Mile High
casino up
City.
there. Yes.
Oh, okay. See, for those of you who gamble, I know there are a lot of genealogists who gamble, like Thomas McKenty, because it seems like he is always winning something somewhere
Yeah.
at some place. You know that there's that casino, or as old folks in my family say, casino. There's a casino
There's
up
a
there,
casino.
up there in Denver. All right. One of my best friends is Oregon born and raised. Her name is Beaverly. Help me find her birth certificate. As
Beaver,
in terms
the
of
state
Beaverton.
animal.
I know, and Beaverton, Oregon. I went to college with somebody who's from Beaverton, Oregon.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Without Washington, we wouldn't have Quincy Jones, Jimi Hendrix, and Ray Charles. What are their ties to Washington, Jelly?
They were all born there.
Ah, all right. Head to Google, people. Head to Google so we can find out more
Go check
information
it
about
out.
that.
Hey, Bing Crosby too.
Bing Crosby. Bing, bing, bing. He was
Yes.
there. All right. Number 3, Washington is the home of the Redskins, right? Ha ha. No.
I'm
If
not a
anybody
fan.
is, if anyone watches The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which is a Netflix show, there's a whole episode where they talk about the Washington Redskins in the name and how it's totally inappropriate. It's great. It's, how sometimes a comedy brings to light an issue. It totally does that. So I highly suggest that. I think it's episode 3 of season 3. Number 2, looking at the population in 2014, there is 6%, 5%, and 3% of what in each state. Now, why are we doing research out there for people of color? Know your community. So what percentages go to which group?
Y'all supposed to know that. You're the panel.
Take a wild guess, everybody.
I think 3% was Oregon, and 6% was Colorado, and 5%, I believe, was
Washington.
Washington, if I remember correctly. I thought that was interesting. 5%
Yeah.
Oregon, 3% Washington, 6% Colorado. I thought that was interesting.
That makes sense, though. I mean, because there's most, like Bernice mentioned, she lived in Colorado at one point. That's where my family lives, in Colorado. I have family in Oregon too, but there's a larger group of people in Colorado. Yeah.
I've got a bunch of folks out there. Probably
Wow.
more out there in Colorado now versus home state of Michigan. They're all in Denver.
Sense. Everybody's in Denver and Colorado Springs
Yeah.
for me. All right. And number 1, no, the state of Washington is the only state named after a president.
Who would have known?
Who would have known? Do you all think that they would have? You think they're going to eventually have a state named Kennedy or Lincoln?
Obama?
Or Obama? I mean, considering I was going to say, considering that we have territories in other places. I mean, that's a great question before we get into the content. Of course, we've got questions for tonight, but, do you think that we'll ever have more states?
No, unless states split. That's the only way you can get them, because there's no more land.
It's just water.
We're surrounded by water. Think about it, really. So you could only split a state. Maybe Oklahoma would go back to east and west, or Virginia, West Virginia. It's all Virginia, but they broke off. So that's the only way they could break, is to break off.
Well, I would say, I was going to say California has a potential. There's been several referendums where people in California have tried to separate into Northern and Southern California because the culture is really, it's very different. Like it's just not the same. So
Teresa
I can see
Vega
that.
said Puerto Rico.
I was gonna say, especially with all the stuff that's been going on in Puerto Rico with the debt issues and it's been a territory, and they I would say she's probably right. Puerto Rico probably, I think it probably should gain statehood, if we're keeping it all the way real. Anywho, all right. Well, we're done with our top 10. Thank you, Shelley Murphy, for your contributions, since you had been a Northwesterner at some point. Let's move ahead with the content topic of the hour, which is people of color in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. First question for the evening for our esteemed panelists. So feel free to weigh in. There are a lot of us that are like, I don't really know a lot about these areas. People tend to stay away from the Northwest. I think it's the weather, the rain, it's a lot of different things. But why do you think that people of color, especially in genealogy, like today, like why do we stay away from these areas? Like why do we just, it's like somebody was allegedly from one of these states, like why do we just say,
Well, I think weather is a big contributor. I really do, depending if you're coming from the South, and going northwest, weather would be considered, besides the job type, market that might be out there. Just to, I would think about the weather. That's serious winter out there. And I'm from Michigan. And I think, yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay, weigh in on that. So are you saying that Northwest winters are worse than Michigan winters?
I think so.
And I don't know about that, Shelley.
Well, no, put it this way. Colorado just had snow just last week. Yeah. There's no snow in Michigan.
Yes, but I remember the snow in Michigan being up to the window.
Actually, it can go to the roof line, but
Wow. Do you all?
I'm referencing as far as travel and things like that. I still would consider weather as being a factor, because people will go to California weather versus Oregon, Colorado,
But you need to think about the migration. I mean, at the time when people started migrating, people of color migrating in those areas, they did that for opportunities. And so maybe gold, but also they did it because of land. They could become homesteaders at that time. So it wasn't the weather that would keep people away. I think it was the job opportunities that brought people to those communities.
Good point.
I think so too. I was about to say it was the almighty dollar. Coins will make you move.
Well, you had military, as far as out there also. So there's bases there. So there were exposure for, people of color to go there, in the early years because of the road being made or pipelines being made and things like that. So you're correct, the jobs. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think, especially if we're going to get into this discussion in reference to why folks maybe kind of steer away from these locations when it comes to their genealogy research, I think we also have to consider that the migration of folks, as Bernice mentioned, didn't actually take place until, like 20th century, right? Like where, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty much when everybody was there. And there's a reason why. And let me just read a little bit about this to everyone, because people may not be aware of this. There were Black exclusion laws in the state of Oregon, which is, of course, the reason why African Americans or people of African descent did not go to Oregon in particular in droves. And let me just read a little bit about this. This is from the Oregon Encyclopedia. The first Black exclusion law in Oregon, adopted in 1844 by the provisional government, mandated that Blacks attempting to settle in Oregon would be publicly whipped, 39 lashes, repeated every 6 months until they departed. There is no documented record of any official whipping, The law was written with a grace period, and it was repealed before it had expired. But the concept was clear. In 1849, the Oregon Territorial Government adopted a second Black exclusion law, which was repealed in 1853. The Oregon Constitution, adopted in 1857, banned slavery, but also excluded Blacks from legal residence. It made it illegal for Blacks to be in Oregon or to own real estate, make contracts, vote, or use the legal system. Like earlier exclusion laws, the constitutional ban, which took effect when Oregon became a state in 1859, was not retroactive, which meant that it did not apply to Blacks who were legally in Oregon before the ban was adopted.
Wow.
I'll finish. Hold on, because there's more. There were several periods between 1840 and 1860 when Blacks could establish legal residence in Oregon. Number one, for about 4 years before the adoption of the 1844 ban. Number two, for about 4 years after the repeal of the 1844 law and before the adoption of the 1849 law. And three, for about 6 years after the repeal of the 1849 law and before the constitutional ban of 1859. During those 20 years, therefore, there were more years when it was legal for Blacks to reside in Oregon than when it was illegal. Nevertheless, Oregonians made it clear that Blacks were not welcome, and few established residents in Oregon during this time. How do you all think that this affected the perception of Oregon even to now?
I'm not wanted, I'm not going. And I say that in that way to put emphasis on the fact, if they know that up front what they might be faced with, why go through that? They got enough of that on the East Coast and the South.
That's right. And if the state did so much, went so far as to codify it into law, goodness only knows what the conditions that you would experience once you got there, even if you went there during one of the times it was legal to settle there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's one thing when you have like a bastion of like culture and opportunity, like a place like the South Side of Chicago, right? Where, it's kind of like the promised land, so to speak. But then, of course, once you got there, you learned that African Americans didn't go to the North Side. You know what I mean? Even now, they still don't go to the North Side. But if you hear that a place like has laws that are like basically just replicate Jim Crow all over again, that information gets passed down. And the other thing is, I think it was a long ride. You know what I mean? If you think about in relation to like Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, you got to think about the southern states, right? Even Oklahoma, that's a long ride out to Oregon. You know what I mean? So in some ways, or even Washington or Colorado is still a long ride, and then adjusting to the weather as well. So yeah, we definitely got to keep this kind of stuff in mind. The fact that Black people were banned from Oregon.
Yes, however, there were Black people that did go to Oregon, and they went because of logging. And so there's a place called Wallowa, Oregon. And when you start researching in the 1920s, you had a large number of Black loggers. And you know where they were coming from? Louisiana.
Wow.
And they were going, and so think of your parish, think of my parish, Timber. Timber was the name of the game. And those loggers went there because, number one, they were able to make a living. And so you know that this is something that's being documented. There's a researcher, and she's writing a book about the Black loggers. So, let's not say that because of these laws, it kept Blacks from going. They went because of opportunity.
Well, and there is also a note too that Oregon had the largest Ku Klux Klan chapter west of the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Nika, there's a website, the usgennet.org. I just put it in your chat.
Okay.
And it's called Ethnic Links. And it talks about, if you scroll down under African American, they've got the Black Oregon Pioneers, they've got an African American Oregon timeline, and then there's a book called The Peculiar Paradise, A History of Blacks in Oregon from 1788 to 1940. And there's early Chinese culture in Oregon as well. And there's a Chinese House Road Museum and other things there from that link.
All right. All right.
I think there's some more research that can be done there, because just as Bernice is bringing out about jobs, if we're missing ancestors and all we know is they might have went out west, it might be one of these 3 states again because of the work.
Yeah, I was going to add too that my great grandmother's brother lived in Washington. I knew that he had lived in California and that's where he died, but I had no clue that he had gone to Washington first. That's actually where he got married. And something else that I want to bring up, to bring Washington and Colorado to the conversation. Matter of fact, hello, lady with the red scarf who just joined us, like all mysteriously and whatnot with her glasses on. Hi, Miss Angela.
Hello.
What happened?
I don't know. I guess her connection might be a little slow.
Yeah, good to see her though.
I know it is, because she just kind of slid on, like, right on in there. But I will add that Washington in particular, I just discovered this recently, did not have anti-miscegenation laws, which means that races could intermarry there legally. So there were a lot of people who lived in California that would come to Vancouver to get married. In particular, when you're looking at the early 20th century, there were a lot of white women who were marrying Asian men in Vancouver, a lot of Black men, white women, vice versa. So definitely take a look at the Washington marriages collection. Just take a browse through there and look. They don't note race, but there were a lot of interracial couples that would come from California and other states and go directly to Washington because it was not illegal to get married as an interracial couple there. So that's something to consider if you have, perhaps, like Shelly mentioned, if you have an ancestor that kind of disappeared, you don't know where they went, but somehow they ended up in California or they ended up somewhere else, that's on the West Coast. Maybe it should be a fail-safe for all of us to just check the state to see if they perhaps live there. Something else I will also mention too is Indian Territory research. If you're looking at freedmen of the 5 civilized tribes, one of my ancestors went to Pueblo, Colorado during Reconstruction to teach school.
Wow.
And that was the strangest thing to me, because I was like, why did she go from Oklahoma to Colorado? Like, what was there? I don't understand. But that's something also to consider when you're thinking about this. So to touch on Colorado, we talked a little bit about this tonight, the fact that the majority of us have ties to Colorado because of the U.S. military. I know that my family that's in Colorado Springs, in particular, they're there because of the Air Force. What other branches, of course, exist? I mean, are there bases for every branch in Colorado or not?
Colorado, I can only speak for Air Force that they're there. Because that's what my husband was, active duty Air Force. So I don't know about the other branches, and there's quite a few bases there and some headquarter bases in the state of Colorado.
And Angela, you mentioned something about the Cherokee freedmen who went to Colorado.
Yeah, there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yes, there were quite a few. I'm not quite sure exactly why. In fact, one of the more well-known families, the Shoeboots family, ended up in Colorado, and descendants of Shoeboots and Dahl still live in Colorado today. And but there were other Cherokee freedmen families I know that ended up mostly around Denver. I don't know about some of the other cities, Boulder, Colorado Springs, that sort of thing, but I know that quite a few Cherokee freedmen ended up in I'd say from the 1800s, even before statehood, some drifted out that way, but definitely by the 1930s and 40s, you see a lot of movement that way.
Mhm. I know for the Army, Fort Carson is our largest Army base out there in Colorado, outside of Denver, and there are a couple of Air Forces ones, but I have never served there or been there. So, yeah.
And you said you were in Washington?
I was actually in Washington, Tacoma. It's like an hour away from Seattle, which is called Fort Lewis. My name. Yeah, but they've combined it now with the Air Force, and it's called Lewis and McChord. And that was a huge base. Like I said, me and my husband left Fort Stewart. I was right when I was going through my retirement process, and we moved out there and stayed for 3 years, and then eventually we moved on to Pewaukee, Wisconsin, and you know how that goes. Home is where the heart is when you're in the Army.
Yes, ma'am. I know Genealogy Jen, our Genia Bud, is in the chat room typing away. She mentions, and Linda Okazaki says, thank you so much for mentioning the Chinese to Shelley. That Jen mentions that there's a lot of cattle ranching going on in Colorado, and then also same thing with I believe with the Chinese in Washington as well.
Yeah.
So that's a population that that we should definitely mention, bringing up these 3 states. Let's see. What was my
Did
next
we
question
talk about Utah again?
No, we haven't hit Utah. I guess we can
Okay.
kind of throw them in because they're not in an episode this year. We did not talk about Utah. I guess we just steered completely clear of Salt Lake, although I mean, granted that is Mecca, but there are a lot of African Americans that are in Utah. It
Absolutely.
surprised me the first time that I met them because I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That are not playing for the Utah Jazz or affiliated with the Utah Jazz. So just kind of throw in what you all know about Utah. I mean, because we'd be remiss if we skipped over Utah in this discussion because we're not going to talk about them this year.
There's a small documentary that a few years ago, when I went to one of the OGS conferences in Maryland, it was being presented, and it was about the migration of the Blacks into U-Haul in the teens and the communities that were set up. And I don't know if anyone remembers that. I think we were at, was it College Park, Maryland? Whichever it was, the university that was there, and OGS had one of their annual conferences there, but it aired as one of the sessions, and it was very interesting. And I can't think of the name of it right now, but they were also selling the CDs, and they were became Mormons. Also,
I
some
think
of them.
This is the one that also had a small reenactment of some of the African Americans who went west with Brigham Young.
Yes. Some of them, but
okay,
then again,
that one.
There was also, I'm going to see if I can find it while we're on here. They weren't all.
By the way, that particular.
Go ahead.
That particular documentary featured someone that many of us know. Tamu Smith was in that documentary. And Tamu depicted one of the people who did go west. I can't think of the name right now. With Brigham Young. But
it was her breakout acting role?
Yes. Yes, her debut.
Tamu's debut. I'll have to make
Yeah,
sure
I didn't
I'll
know
tag
she
her.
was in that.
She's just for everyone who's
Yeah, she
watching.
was.
Tamu Smith is one of the Sisters of Zion. She's they run a social media account that talks about African American people who are Mormons and different things, and it's been really interesting to follow them, to hear just all the complexities of being, you know, a person of color in the Mormon Church, in particular being somebody who's African American, considering the history of Mormonism. And so I just crack up laughing. They actually had a video not too long ago they did about like what to say and what not to say. Like one of the things was like, don't like go up to people's hair, hair and touch their hair, not ask to touch their hair. And, you know,
I
it was
saw
just,
those.
yeah, it's hilarious. Like they have a lot of stuff like that. Before we move on to the last question, you know, getting into resources that people are seeing. Let's see, did we get a tweet?
I put a
Um,
link in for Blacks in Utah history.
Yes, I did see. I got that. And I also saw there's a link that Shelley has also shared for the Northwest African American Museum that has a genealogy section. There's a genealogy center. Is basically a regional resource for family history research, and they host genealogy groups, offer one-to-one family history research assistance with volunteer genealogists, workshops, and speakers. That is in Seattle. So I'll be sure to share that link as well in our live chat room. And let's go ahead and talk resources in terms of critical record sets, things like that that you guys see that jump out to you with regard to this region.
Well, I see that Family Search has 6 collections for Colorado and 23 collections for Oregon and 19 collections for Washington State. So Family Search would possibly be a great starting point.
All right, definitely. I'm looking at Ancestry, and to me, it seems like there are quite a few vital records databases, which are important in some ways, because if they list the location of birth for a person and it's not Oregon, Washington, or Colorado, that would be a great way to make a tap into those locations. That's how I found out my uncle got married there, and I had no clue. Was because it popped up in the Washington marriage licenses. And so Oregon's got marriage indexes that go all the way up to 2009. That's great. There's a death index that goes all the way up to 2008. You've got divorce records. We've got county marriages. These marriage indexes and death indexes are well over 1 million records. So that means that, that we're talking statewide at this point for Oregon. And the marriage indexes cover from 1906 to 2009. The death index goes from 1898 to 2008. So that's actually great as well. When it comes to Colorado, in terms of record sets that are on Ancestry, you've got a state census that took place in 1885. So if we're talking about those freedmen families that migrated out there, that would be probably a good census to locate them on, would be in 1885. That's also on Ancestry. You've got a pretty substantial Colorado county marriages and state indexes from 1862 to 2006. Got 1.1 million records in that. Divorce index from 1851 to 1985 that has about 700,000 records in it. Statewide marriage index, little less than 500,000 records in that, going from 1900 to 1939. As well as all the other typical things that, I'm not bringing up, like the census, that we're naturally going to go and look for. When it comes to Washington State, we've got marriage records, 10 million. And of course, I think there's a variance in that because, as we mentioned, interracial marriages were not illegal in the state of Washington. So if you had those in your family and you don't know where a person perhaps got married, maybe they went to Washington. It's very possible. I found several newspaper accounts, matter of fact, down in Southern California, where people were trying to get married in California, and because they legally couldn't, they went up to Washington and then came back down, even though the state of California didn't recognize their marriage. We've got, we've got the death index. That's got 3.2 million records in that. That goes from 1940 to 2014. Selected death certificate for Washington State, that's 2.9 million records. So it looks like everybody, if you've got Washington, you're kind of winning on these vital records indexes. And when I'm talking about it, I think you're winning because you've got way more available to you. In addition to all that, we've got state and territorial censuses with over 700,000 records in those. So those are unique for that particular state. I think people often overlook the state census. State census can be like a huge win. Not every state had them though. That's the unfortunate part. So if you do have a state that did have one, don't forget to check those records. Anything else we can think of before I get to links and whatnot?
It looks
this
like
evening?
it looks like Family Search has Washington land records from 1850 to 1954.
Yeah, Bernice and Angela put some links in there.
Yes, I'm seeing this. So we've got
The Bureau of Land Management.
yes.
If
That's
anyone
always,
is looking for a homestead patent, that might be a place for people to start looking in that particular site.
Bernice also posted a great link to the Colorado Gazette that talks about the preservation of the history of African Americans in Colorado Springs by a teacher, believe it or not. I'll go ahead and post that link inside of our live chat. And homestead records, just go ahead and I'm sorry, Angela did that, my bad. Homestead records, can you talk about what those are? Because we can't assume that everybody knows what those are.
Right. Well, individuals after 1862, and this is an act that was passed by Abraham Lincoln, allowed people to qualify for up to 160 acres of land. And so they had to be over the age of 21. Women could apply for that land, and they would have to then go stake a claim. And, you know, sometimes you see these big wagon rushes and people going out and they're staking claims, but they would have to live on this land for at least 5 years and you know, improve it. But they also had to have witnesses to say that they did this. So this is an opportunity for people to check, but if their ancestors are from Colorado, from some of the other places that we're speaking of tonight, they can go in and see if indeed their ancestors had a land patent. And then that'll open up all kinds of information for them as far as the land.
All right. So there you go. When it comes to the land patents, True just shared a link. I'll share it in the live chat with regard to a POW camp that was at Ogden, Utah. And it lists prisoner of war camps, Italian service unit camps, and prisoner of war hospitals that were in several locations in Utah, Logan, Utah, Orem, Utah, Salina, Utah, and Tremonton, Utah. I'll go ahead and post the link there.
I also want to encourage people to take a look at sort of the emergence of the AME Church in Colorado. I kind of stumbled into that by accident. I was researching a person, about 4 or 5 years ago. Some of you have read that letter of a soldier who was with U.S. colored troops. He was in the Union Army, and he wrote to the woman who was holding his family, still enslaved. And this was in Missouri. And he wrote, you know, hey, so every day you keep my daughter, and I'm bringing the Union Army after you, and so on and so forth. His name was Spotswood Rice. I wrote a blog post about Spotswood Rice, and I became curious. Number one, did he write the letter? And number two, well, because the letter is a fiery letter he was writing to the slaveholder. And if he wrote the letter, then I became curious in terms of who was the man. I began to follow his history. I got his Civil War pension file and the story of him getting his family reunited. That's one part. But the man himself, I learned, was an AME minister in Missouri. And he and his wife went west, first to New Mexico. He established the first AME Church in New Mexico, and this is around 1880, 1882, something like that. I noticed, however, that his pension was being filed from Colorado, Well, subsequently, his wife had died in the late 1880s, and Father Moses Dixon out of Missouri, in fact, wrote this obituary about her. I realized, oh, he's with Moses Dixon. Then this guy is possibly also connected with some other things. It turns out that he did move. He was transferred to Colorado Springs, established the first Black church in Colorado Springs. I think it's called Payne Chapel. It is still in existence today. I've, in fact, heard from people who are members of that church in response to the article, the blog post that I had written on Spotswood Rice. And he died in Colorado Springs. My guess, and I need to consult our colleague James to find out, I suspect he may have been active in the Prince Hall Masons just because of his strong affiliation with other movers and shakers who were both AMEs and also Masons. And but I strongly urge, particularly in Colorado, I don't know about Oregon and Washington, that one look at the AME Church and look at other AME churches throughout the state, because he did establish the first one.
Okay. Ellen shared a link about a Masonic organization out in let's see, I think it's Renton, Washington, called the Sons of Haiti, which is a Haitian American Masonic Grand Lodge and fraternal organization. That's their headquarters, and they have subchapters in Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, Ohio, Texas, and Washington. And so, you know, usually James is here to talk Masonic organizations. He's not here tonight, but that would be definitely something to look into. That's kind of, you know, along the lines of what Angela was talking about with regard to the AME Church and the move of the AME Church, you know, out west. Anything else? Anyone else want to weigh in with before we move on to Ask Mariah?
I just want to point out about the railroad and the mining industry. Bernice and I kind of shared a little chat there. But again, it goes back to the jobs. And I posted a link that's got several histories for more than just the states we're talking about tonight. And it's on Black Past. And I'm sure a few of us have been on there before. But I think that's another good resource to look up some history.
Absolutely. And we can't forget there is a huge Native American presence in the Northwest. I think that oftentimes gets overlooked. And so definitely smaller groups, which means that there are different record sets that are available. You can't just assume, you know, there's with a Dawes Commission. You know what I mean? You probably would have to look for the Bureau of Indian Affairs and maybe see what's there. Also check with the nations that exist in those locations. And let's see, Bernice mentions migrant workers. That's a great thing. Of course, when you factor that in, you got to think about the railroads. So Pullman porters, folks of that line of work. Anything else before we move on?
Nika, to go back to Native Americans, on Family Search, they have a collection of Washington applications for enrollment and adoption of Washington Indians, 1911 and 1919, and that has 51,169 records.
Okay, that's good to know. Something. The reason why we're talking about record counts with regard to databases, because people were probably like, why do you care how many records it's in there? It usually indicates that it's a, you know, it's more ubiquitous, like that there is a larger sampling of the population within those records. If it's a database that only has 5,000 records in it, and you go in and you're like, well, I'm trying to find the death record of Aunt Sally Mae, and she's not in there, and I know she lived in Washington because I have her on several censuses. Well, it's because the record set is not that large. Maybe they didn't index, they only indexed one county, or maybe they only, you know, took certificate from this particular one city. You know, that's the reason why record counts make a huge difference. I think Angela or Shelley was going to say something.
Well,
Angela.
I'll jump in for a hot second. Someone had mentioned Native American. I will just encourage you to look at, even though the collections are often called Indian Territory censuses and rolls, there's a subset collection on Ancestry that is reflecting records from 1851 to 1959. Included among those records are tribes in the West, including Colorado, including Washington State, including, well, actually multiple states out in the West. So I would encourage people to take a look at the collection on Ancestry. It's enormous. And it's one of the 4 collections called Oklahoma and Indian Territory, except that it's not just Oklahoma, it's multiple states. So take a look at that.
That is definitely good to know.
Also,
All right.
just for your information, there's school records archives in Colorado. So for those who may be wanting to know whether their ancestors went to school, they may want to check out this particular resource. I'll put the link in the chat room so that you can post it.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was going to say is that there were schools available in the Indian Territory, at least I know in the Cherokee Nation, but they didn't make them available to the freedmen. The freedmen did not have access to them, and I think that's a big reason why people sent their kids to states like Kansas, and that's why folks left the Indian Territory and moved to Kansas, or perhaps, and like we were talking about Colorado, went to Colorado because their kids and they had access to jobs to be able to teach and that whole thing. So that would definitely be a good resource. And this link that Bernice is sharing, which is great. Would be it goes without saying, don't forget to check the state archives for each state that we're talking about.
Right.
They're going to have, and sometimes the system that the state archives use it's not search engine rich, so it won't pop up in your search results, and you actually need to go to the state archives website and search whatever their subject cards are, whatever they have, to see exactly what they have. That's what I notice a lot of times, is that if a state archives website is just, the content isn't very search engine friendly, it isn't going to pop up in search results. You need to actually go to the state archives website and see what they have available in terms of their online catalog. We definitely can't forget to mention that. And is there any last call?
Yes.
Call.
You guys are making an excellent point about checking the archives. Doesn't matter which state. Anytime we're throwing out a record on a specific state, you need to check the state that you're also researching in to see if they might have a similar record set. So it doesn't have to just be Colorado, Washington, Oregon. It could be, anywhere that we're checking. And Bernice pointed out about, don't forget the universities and the special collections and local genealogical societies as well.
Absolutely. And I think the last thing I would say, of course, Linda Sims brings up a great point. USGenWeb. Can't forget that. Love the free 99 nature of that. I still use that. I don't know about anybody else, but I do.
RootsWeb too.
Yeah, and RootsWeb. I still use all those free pages. I'm like, please don't get rid of them. Please, please, please don't get rid of them.
I wonder if Cindy's list.
Of course, we have to throw that out there as well. I'm seeing there's the distinction between records on Family Search is interesting because they've got more databases for Oregon, but they've, some of the stuff that they have for the other locations, the states we're talking about, I'm like, gosh, I kind of favor that over the other. They've got probate case records for the state of Washington, for the counties on Family Search. And, that's a gold mine, especially, you got to think about, that. To me, I think that's a gold mine. I love when they put probate records out there. Of course, I'm selfish because I'm thinking about slaves. But, that's good information to have. Several different land records exist. They've got county land records for Washington. They're the same thing for Oregon as well. So don't forget those resources. We threw out a lot of stuff here, and hopefully maybe we'll make some finds for our own family lines. I know I have some research to do in Pueblo, Colorado. One of Ike's baby mamas went out there. Actually, I think she was a wife. I think she was a wife. I think Alice was a wife. He had several wives, and then the kids happened right after the marriages happened. Yeah, he wasn't quite as clean as Daddy Ike for
All right now.
He was not as clean. It would be like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna marry you, but I got another woman pregnant over here on the side. Yeah. When you start putting all the timelines together, they start running together. Yeah, it's a lot of gray. All right. So moving forward, of course, everyone's favorite part of the evening has arrived. Are you ready? Let's get a drum roll. It is time for Ask Mariah. What is Ask Mariah? Well, goodness gracious. It's the time that we set aside for you, our special, esteemed, wonderful, gorgeous, handsome guests, for you to send us your questions, queries, conundrums, whatever they are when it comes to your genealogy research and family history. And so just so you always know, very few of the panelists, in fact, only 2 of them actually see these submissions, and I have to push them into submission, not to solve the problem beforehand. So that means that most of the panelists have not seen the question for the evening until we actually get to this time in the show. And just to remind you, if you're watching, feel free. There's always a link to submit to Ask Mariah in the description area of every recording of BlackProGen Live. And there's no question big or small for us. This is your time to get the help that you need. And in my opinion, this is your way to stop posting on message boards on social media. I wish Henry Louis Gates would do my family history research. I wish they would do regular folks. This is your opportunity to get I wish the regular folks would get some love, because regular folks are getting some love. So, all right. Question of the evening comes from Lois, which, of course, I love that name because that was my grandmother's name. Hi. Of course, let me get my new voice on. Hi. We'd like to know the parents and siblings of Arthur Barnes, born about 1868 in North Carolina. Did I get that right? Did I say that right, Tony? You're around North Carolina more than I am. North Carolina. Also lived in Jackson County, Florida, according to the 1900 census, with wife Lucy Pittman Barnes and their children. Death date unknown. That's all we got tonight, y'all. Nothing else. We've got Arthur. Of course, spelling doesn't count in genealogy. Born about 1868 in North Carolina. Also lived in Jackson County, Florida, according to the 1900 census, with wife Lucy Pittman Barnes and their children. Death date unknown. So basically what this is looking like is this is cutting into Reconstruction. We've got a birth date that is, of course, during Reconstruction, a few years after the 13th Amendment. Which of course can be problematic because of potential name changes, right? We've got that. We've also got a move of location when it comes to going from North Carolina at some point to Florida. And then we also don't have a death date or, any information regarding a death, which potentially means that this person died before state mandated death certificates were required. So this is what we're working with for the evening.
All right. Well, I think one thing that's fortunate about the record that you do have is that it's the 1900 census, because the 1900 census asked a lot of questions.
Right.
So you can get a lot more information from that 1900 census. Now, I'd say if you don't have a blank 1900 census form, you can download those for free on Ancestry.com, and you can also get them on Family Search as well. But I'm looking at that census record for them for 1900, and a couple of things just really pop out to me. The first one is that that census asked how many years people have been married, and it looks like they were married for 12 years. So that looks like they were married about 1888. Family Search has a collection of Florida marriage records, and in Jackson, Florida, amazingly, they go back. I've seen some all the way to like 1866, where people were solemnizing marriages that they had during slave times. So you may find a marriage record there. And then also on that 1900 census, they ask if you own your home or you rent your home. And if you did own your home, they asked if it was mortgaged. And in looking at that 1900 census record, it says that he owned his home and there was a mortgage. So there, either homestead records, as Bernice pointed out, but also the Register of Deeds for Jackson County may have a record of him purchasing his land. They may have a mortgage for his land. And it looks like, again, looking at that record, that they're living right next door to Lucy Pittman, his wife. It looks like they're living right next door to Lucy's family. And then up above that, I see there are two Barnes families right up above Lucy's family. And the eldest...
let me share. I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see what we're talking about.
So it looks like the family is all in the same area.
It does,
Yeah.
Shelley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so they need to do some working just that census, and everybody you're calling out to recognize that just off of that census. And where are they born at? Is it North Carolina?
If you look at that now, they were born, they were Barnes members on that particular census. They were born in North Carolina, and also Lucy's parents were born in North Carolina as well. And look on that, if Nika, can you see it on the screen share? Look at Penny Barnes, who was born in 1816 in North Carolina.
Yes, I see her right here.
That's amazing.
This could be an example of a migration or a movement. I hate to say it, but this way, slaves from one state to another.
Yes.
And the whole family went, or they were sold or whatever.
Recommend doing a newspaper search because this is 1900. And we see this person born about 1816. If this person was enslaved, and there's a strong possibility that this person was enslaved, then when that person died, think about, now we all get on ProQuest, and how many times when you're on a black newspaper, even white newspapers, old slave dies, it's 1925. Former slave dies, and it's 1945. And whenever this woman died, article about her, ex-slave dies in Jackson County, Florida. I would just do a search looking for this woman, looking for Penny Barnes. I mean, there are a whole lot of possibilities just looking at that record. And in fact, she said in her query that Arthur was born in North Carolina. Arthur was born in Florida, so you should be able to find Arthur in Florida. And I suspect his
I was going to say on this census,
on that page.
This census,
his parents,
this census,
are probably
this census says Florida. I think the others say North Carolina. And FYI, Lois is actually tweeting us on Twitter right now. And she's responding on Twitter. It actually is coming in faster than it would in the chat room. So I almost feel like I want everybody to tweet us from now on. Just so we can get it faster. But I think definitely doing the cluster research, because the surnames are all here on the page. I mean, and even I would even suggest making a timeline for these folks that are in these neighboring households. You know, like starting with the earliest, just with the birth location, so we can begin at 1816 with Penny, maybe then go to Wiley Pittman, who's here, born 1834, who perhaps maybe is her son. You know, or actually, no, I'm sorry, because this would be the Pittman side. This would be Lucy's side. So maybe this is Lucy's father, right?
Can you
Pittman?
Can you lower that screen just a tad, or maybe you can't? I'm trying to see who's in that household because Penny is somebody's mother. I want to see. Well,
yes, she's the mother of Sally.
Sally.
Sally's right here. Sally.
Oh, she's Sally.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sally.
I think
Yeah, I think every
Every
on this page.
person needs to be checked
Okay, stop.
because they're
Okay.
basically in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
look at that.
They're
That's
all
a
black
brother
too. Look at them.
of.
Mhm.
B down the page. B, 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 B,
Yes.
B.
Mhm.
Okay, who is Jesse in relation? Jesse is the brother of Sally. And I suspect, considering just looking at Arthur's age, he's 32. Jesse is what, 30 something? I can't tell his age. There's something written on
39.
it. 38,
39.
39.
Mhm.
Okay. And then, of course, Sally is 59. Sally could be the mother. I'm just guessing on
Yeah,
that.
I think Sally's the mother.
Right. But look at that. I mean, just at the generations, it seems to me that I suspect if you even back up, let's see, is there, even the ones who are over 20 years old who were born in Florida, they're going to be in the 1880 Florida census. And that
That's right.
family structure will have
Mhm.
altered.
Mhm. And
So-
also, I'm sorry, Andrew.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Also, the Florida state, there are 3 state census for
Right.
Florida, the 1885, 1935, and 1945. But that 1885 can help you tighten up things again there because remember, that census suggests that he was married in 1888. So 1885 can help you tighten up the timeline between North Carolina and Florida migration that it seems like we're looking at.
Okay. Anything else anybody want to suggest?
I just say they got to analyze that. They're going to have to get in that box and not step out the box and work it till they resolve who everybody is in the relationship. So each one of them you got to tap in birth, death, will, marriage, land ownership, got to, check into that. Might have to come forward and then go back in time. And I think definitely a timeline on this family. And I think this is going to circle around and, I think that whole county's got to be searched and not just that page.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also would I think I also would suggest searching, and this is something I was just actually doing, Barnes and Pittman together with the terms Jackson County and North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because I think that they were brought down to Florida by a slaveholder. And it just so happened, and here's the thing, North Carolina, maybe there was a skirmish or something that took place in the location that they were enslaved in, or the plantation was at North Carolina, and they fled to Florida because they considered it to be safer. And then by the time the war ends, they're just there.
I'm going to pull Jean's book right quick and check and see if there was a plantation owner in that county.
Yeah, because something's telling me that they didn't just, it's not like North Carolina is like right next door. You know what I mean? It's close.
No, South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina is. So
that's North Carolina's near Virginia.
Mm-hmm. But you have to remember too that Florida land lotteries were opening up, and a startling find I had one time for Florida was that for Hernando County, Florida, something like 30% of the pioneers of Hernando County, Florida, had migrated en masse in 1850s from Alabama.
Oh, wait a minute. And okay, Linda Sims coming in the clutch, y'all. She said, don't forget to flip that page. And I did. Hold what you got. There's some more folks.
Yeah.
Next
the
page.
whole county.
Yeah, you got to. I'm
gotta be the whole county.
Yeah, you got to search the whole county. All right, so let me zoom in. So this is the next page, 1900 census. We've got Dan Barnes, born in Florida about 1871. Father's birthplace, North Carolina. We've got going further down. There's also a Margaret Barnes, born about 1846. She's born in Georgia with parents born in Georgia, but her kids born in the 1870s, born in Florida, with the father born in North Carolina.
Carolina.
Can you go up to the top? I saw someone else with a Florida birthplace and a North Carolina parent up to the top of that page.
Ephraim,
Okay, yes,
Ephraim,
Ephraim. And he's
Ephraim
in the house,
Calhoun.
in the family on the previous page on the bottom.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Now we don't know what county in North Carolina, correct?
No,
No,
ma'am.
no,
Right.
no.
Yeah, we had this is a great question in the chat room. How do you do an organized timeline for multiple people?
Good
I think it's a
question.
great question. Because I just mentioned doing a timeline, a collective timeline. Because at this point, if we don't know who the ancestors are, we have to try to figure out, you know what I mean? If we don't, we're just trying to get back to North Carolina. So because we've got all these people in the mix, using their birth locations and the locations that their parents were born can help us kind of figure out strategy wise, like for a family group, where folks were at a particular time. So if we looked at that previous page, you can just start, as Shelly just mentioned, an Excel spreadsheet would help because then it's sortable.
And it's,
Yeah, you can sort it. You know, you've got birth date in one column, name, birth date, perhaps, however you want to organize it, and then just location. And just for those family groups that are on that page, and I would even go 2 or 3 pages before and after, because we just hit pay dirt on this page, the next page over for these Pittman and these Barnes families. I would just go, 1813, Penny Pittman, birthplace, North Carolina. Then I'd go to the next person and do that for everyone that is everyone that's there. Any other things before we move on?
That's a lot.
that's a
Yeah.
lot. I hope
lot.
I wish her good luck.
I do too.
But she's got a lot of material just off of that 1900 census.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just, like I said, I think searching through just for Pittman and Barnes slave owning families,
Yes.
Mhm.
just to see, because something is telling me that maybe a Barnes married a Pittman, and or that there were slaves, maybe it was a mother who bequeathed slave. I mean, there's some relationship that's like that in this situation, and that's how everybody ended up in Florida.
Yeah, and
So.
this is looking very strongly like a planter migration.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So
Mhm.
Tony, just talk briefly about what's a planter migration, because people are probably like, well, what do you mean?
Right. A planter migration is when a slaveholder migrates either through a land lottery opening up, or a purchase of land elsewhere, or the inheritance of land elsewhere, etc., and moves his entire household and entire enslaved community in many cases to the new place. And the fact that you see on that 1900 census, all of the families living right there close together who were Black all have some way a North Carolina connection in their household. It seems that they perhaps all were moved together from North Carolina to Florida. And so you can maybe look at the early land records from the Florida homestead records there and see if there were any white homesteaders in Florida who came from North Carolina, and that may begin to give you a clue about who the actual migrating planter was.
Shelley brings up General Joshua Barnes Plantation, who's a North Carolina slaveholder. I also just found something on the Jackson County Times website. It's an excerpt from the Jackson County, Florida history, written by Jarrell Schaffner, professor of history at the University of Central Florida, published in 1985 by the Jackson County Heritage Association. And it mentions the Union Academy Church, which became Greenwood Baptist in 1855, has frequent references to its Black membership, including punishments meted out for misbehavior on the plantation. Blacks were admitted to membership as soon as the church was organized in 1845. And the reason why I bring this up is because there are people with the last name Barnes and Pittman mentioned in this history.
Wow.
On the same day, it looks like in 1857, A.J. Sims preferred charges against Tom and Mary, quote, colored members belonging to Mrs. Elijah Bryan. The charges were found to be true, but the errant members were penitent. Penitence with notwithstanding, they were excluded. On the same day, Stephen and Lizzie, property of Thomas Barnes, admitted the charges against them, and they were also excluded. There's also a mention of, in 1853, a committee comprised of Thomas Barnes, W. Harsfield, Adam McNeely, James Drummond, William Story, C.H. Harsfield was appointed for the purpose of a new house of worship. There's also a Pittman reference, so let me go ahead and bring that up. This is during the next 9 years, however, at least 22 other Blacks became members. Typical of them were Mary, the servant of Elijah Bryan, Charles, the servant of Nicholas Long, Austin, the servant of Martha Pittman.
And Nika, in that 1900 census that we're looking at, there is a Stephen and Lizzie Barnes.
Oh, suck it.
Yes.
This is good, Lois. I hope we'll send you these links, Tony. I just posted the link in our chat for that church history that I just found, where the members, where they allowed the slaves to become members, but they would also dole out punishments to those slaves that were supposed to have been administered on the plantation. So I would be looking up Thomas Barnes as a slaveholder, and I would also be looking up Martha Pittman as a slaveholder and potential slaveholder for your family.
Here's another good link, which is Barnes and Pittman's, also in North Carolina as well. And it's people researching the Pittmans and all throughout talking about deeds and this, that, and other. It's sharing also the Wiley Barnes and some other Barnes folks that they're looking at and who's married to who. Susanna, sister of Sarah, Wiley and his daughter Sarah, they're slaves.
Wow.
This is under Jesse Pittman, and this is also North Carolina as well. But this is a search from Pittman Archives on Roots Web. So I think it's also a connection to check, because you're seeing those two surnames come together, Slaves, North Carolina.
And it looks like Wilson County, North Carolina is their
where the
starting
general
point.
was at.
That's where they perhaps left from and ended up in Jackson County, Florida, which is, well, that's pretty interesting. I also see, I'm trying to get something to come up on my screen. My computer's very slow, but there is an Arter Barnes listed in the 1885 state census, and he is listed as a son. It looks as if, I'm trying to make this come in a little bit more clearly. It's kind of fuzzy. Maybe someone else can have a little bit of luck, better luck than I can. It's the Florida State Census for 1885. And there is an Arter who is there on that page. And so I think you're just a click away.
Which county?
I'm sorry, Jackson County, Florida.
It's Jackson County.
Same
Okay.
county, same
I'll bring
county.
that up.
Yes, and if someone else can bring it up, it might be more clearly displayed on your screen.
Oh, I see it. Okay,
Jordan
born about
Barnes.
1865. All right, I'll share it with you all.
There was a Barnes,
It's not-
Webbyville plantation.
Bunch of barns there.
Jackson
bunch of
County
barns
too.
There's
Can
an
you all
Eliza.
see? You all can see. Let's see, we've got White Clark.
Just as fuzzy as mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fuzzy. I see Margaret Barnes here, age 36. Jordan Barnes, age 50. Gosh, let me go to my tools.
Maybe about 19 or 20. Okay, Arter, go back down you see, oh, somebody, Jordan
There's
Barnes
Arter
in that
Jordan
house.
Barnes in
Got
that
him.
household who's 50.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
probably
Born in
his
North
father,
Carolina. So
Mhm.
that looks like that's the father. And then maybe this
Jordan.
wife there's a wife listed as 35 years old
Reginita. Can't
Mhm.
named
see her name.
Henrietta.
Renetta
I think it
or
looks
Oh,
like
it's
Resonette.
Henrietta. Okay.
I think it's Henrietta. Then
Yeah.
there's Lizzie, Arthur.
Okay. Lenny.
Unless this, in fact, I'm thinking this Henrietta might be a second wife because she would have been 15 years old when
Mhm.
some of these
Leslie.
kids were born.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
could have been. I mean, but
Yeah, but
you're
there's
right.
another son named Jordan. Looks like Lige for Elijah right here, age
Mhm.
15.
Right, that's true.
Maybe Sally, another female, 13. Then we've got a grandson with last name Little, Jordan Little. So there's another surname to look
Mhm.
for. Anna, oh
Rouge.
I think we
Jesus,
found the
Rouge.
family.
I don't know. This is one of those situations.
RUGE. I can't
Maybe.
tell.
Yeah, that's why I went to invert colors. I'm over here giving you guys game. Most people
I
probably don't even
know.
know you can do this on Ancestry, but I do it all the time if I can't read something.
Yeah. Don't forget
yeah.
to check military because somebody could have served or did something.
Yeah, I was about to say U.S.
Mhm.
color troops.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Chat room is blowing up. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are doing such a great job with this." I think we're gonna have
I want to do a timeline
Ask
so bad.
Mariah.
It's killing me.
I know, it's killing me too. I'm like, please let us do a timeline. Because we are giving. I think she's watching Captivated because we haven't gotten a tweet like, "Oh my gosh, oh my
Yeah,
gosh."
I'm looking for tweets from her and I don't see them. I'm like, where is she?
Yeah. So we've got a Eliza. Maybe this is Celia. There's the Celia White, and then there's the Celia Barnes, age 19, which has a granddaughter mentioned with her. I would look at this this Florida state census and just let me go back and just search for Barnes in Jackson, Florida.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to kind of do that to see what
Right.
sticks.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
there's a really good Jackson County, Florida blog spot, and there's
Okay.
a Thomas Barnes, and I'm searching it, but it was through a blog, and he was a slave owner.
Told you.
So he
That was
a
that link
slave
that I
owner.
showed
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm seeing
Ty-
the 1920 census, Arthur Barnes and his
Yeah.
wife Lucy and their children too.
Yeah, look at all these barns. I'll blow up the screen so you all can
And the
see
thing
well.
is,
So is that telling her that he's still living after that point, since she's
Right.
concerned about the death date? Then
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
Shelly.
wow.
That's right.
I was gonna say send that link over just so she knows. That means that there probably is a death record. She probably just needs to look for Barnes and then
Mhm.
variations of
Yeah,
ART or AT or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
And
Here's
look at
Penny.
There's Penny.
There's
and
Penny.
There's
I know we're
Penny.
all so fascinated with her. We might not
Wait,
even
hold
do
it.
current
Freeze
events.
that screen for a second.
I know. We might not
Hold
do
that
current events.
index.
Sorry, y'all. We're not gonna get to current events tonight because I already know we're look at these vans. You see the vans?
yeah,
There are vans in here, Angela. Eddie van.
All right now.
Yeah, but they're all
Say the
look at that.
territory. These are all Florida vans.
Kansas.
Let them go.
Florida
Ooh,
vans.
Kansas. Uh-oh.
Hold on, let's see. Okay. Kenny
That's-
Barnes.
And are those
let's
Barnes
see.
being born in North Carolina? Look, does it
Yep.
say?
NC.
There's
NC.
Penny and there's a
There's
Got
a
it.
mini. This is mini. Look, there's a mini and a penny. Yeah.
Where's your
There's
put
a
your
mini
mouse,
Barnes.
your cursor so we can
Has
see
she
what you
thought about since we really don't know exactly when they got to Florida, but she could probably narrow that down. But if we click into that not 1870, the Freedmen Bureau records for
It's not that busy for Florida. Florida had very
Nah,
few.
they didn't
North
have.
Carolina.
Florida was supposed to be a
sparse.
swamp.
If everybody, maybe not everybody got sent to Florida.
True.
Mhm.
True. But it's a slew of Barnes on this page. There's Penny 65 in 1885.
Look at that.
Then there's a mini Barnes that's age 50. So, and she's born in Georgia. So she just might be married in. She might just be married to Stephen Barnes. We've seen that name.
She should be able to piece this family.
the organized timeline.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And Nika, I've got Lucy Pittman in the 1870 census. I just sent that link over, and
Yes.
with parents Wiley and Lizzie, and that's who's next door to them in the 1900 census. Is Wiley and
So
Lizzie
we
Pittman.
found, there we go. We found them on the poll. Lois, you lucked out tonight. You got back. Let's get applause to the
Yay.
BlackProGen crew.
All right now.
Went back a generation. Now, see, Angela, I'm not willing to hold out that these vans are not Cherokee Nation.
Show
because
me.
here's a May.
Zoom in.
Here's a May. Well, there's a May. That's what I was gonna say. Last census we had, there was a May. Now,
Yeah.
or a van. Now there are Mays. So these might be folks that might be Eastern Cherokee folks that may have, ended up in Florida, perhaps. We'll see. So here's Wiley Pittman, and here's a daughter named Lucy, age 6. So we believe that this is Lois's ancestor. This is Lucy Pittman, who was married to Arthur Barnes.
What year is
And
that?
this
And
is
that
the
was at
1870
1870.
census. Mariana,
Oh.
this is Mariana, Jackson County, Florida. You go up
Oh,
the
it's Lucy's
page, you see
parents.
Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are Lucy with her family right here.
Oh, that is so cool. Love it.
Yeah,
So
this
all
is
these
awesome.
These other ones in the household are all
Here's Stephen.
great uncles and great aunts.
George Barnes, look at this.
Yeah.
This is
So-
Alabama Barnes. This is very interesting.
Let's see, Mariana, Florida, outside of Mariana. Okay,
Mariana.
I always check that out. Or Mariana, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I always
Sorry.
check that just in case
Yeah,
there's a plantation mentioned. Something else I also do is come over here to source and see if there's a good description given. Sometimes they list a plantation in this area.
Mm-hmm.
They may say that the tree over on the left-hand side, of course, the tree on the left-hand side is no longer there, but sometimes that helps with locating information.
Mm-hmm.
Nika,
Do we see? Yes, ma'am.
Linda Sims posted a good point is to check the 1860 census to see who is in the home of the slave owner and where they're from.
Yeah.
So back up. And the thing of it is, they probably need to keep toggling between North Carolina and Florida.
I think so too.
All right,
I
I'm
don't-
sending over Lucy Pittman and her family in the 1880 census.
Don't forget mortality schedules. Track the
Yeah.
dead people. Well, they're
Yeah.
all dead, but you know what I mean. They're all
Shelly.
Okay, so here we go. Next page over. Since I still have this open, Stephen Barnes, here he is. There's a Stephen Barnes here. And then there was another one that was on this 1885
Yeah,
census.
Penny.
I'm
What's the
trying
place
to
of
find
birth?
him.
Place
There's
of birth.
Penny. Go get Penny, Nika. She was on.
Okay.
I thought I saw
What's
Penny.
the place of birth of all these places?
North Carolina. So here's
Okay.
Stephen, age 41, and Margaret Barnes. And then I guess this is maybe it's Norfolk, Norflus. To me, that sounds like either a surname or a location.
And don't forget
That
to
might be a
turn
clue.
that page.
Yeah, well, this is the next page over from Lucy and her family in
You're
1880.
not done.
1870. Oh no, I know I'm not done because these folks are all. Hold on now, but before we move on, because Tony sure did send over 1880. Oh, stop having a snag. All right, let's see what we got. Current events is not happening tonight. There's Jesse Barnes, Arthur Barnes. Age 3.
yeah.
There's a 3-year-old Arthur Barnes
yeah,
now.
pull that up.
Now, wait a
Pull
minute.
that
The other census, this is 1885, right? So we had an older Arthur on this one, right? Alfred, Nathan. Was he further down the page?
There.
Oh, or maybe I
21,
lost him.
but that's about. Okay, hold on. Wasn't there one right there?
There was
Okay.
one, but I got to find him.
Scroll down. You just had. Oh,
I'm just going to go back and look for him.
And in that 1885 census, I look for Lucy's family, and there are Barnes all over the place
Yeah.
around her household.
Mm.
Because I can't remember who his ma and his pa are to know if that's the same Arthur Barnes.
Jordan was his father.
Jordan was the father.
Okay.
Yeah, Jordan was the father. And on this, it says, well, Jesse, okay, we got to go back to the bottom of the last page because it's getting cut off. Stephen. So this is, maybe there could have been two Arthur Barnes, but the age matches up. We don't have relationships on this census, though. That's what's key. So this
What year are we looking at right
this
here?
is 1870.
Okay, that's probably our Arthur, because there was a Jesse in that other household, I remember. And this is 1870, and he was born 1860 something. And who's the head of? Okay, Jesse. Jesse's not the head of the house. Jesse's a sibling.
He's just a son. The head of the house was somebody named Stephen on this 1870.
Could be Stephen Jordan,
but the 1885 record we found was a Jordan.
No. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So it's this two. So this is two different. There probably are two Arthur Barneses. That's what it's looking like, possibly. Yeah.
I have to, examine it closely.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. Interesting. 1869 to 1871. Shelley posts that Jackson County was the center of a low-level guerrilla war known as the Jackson County War. Members of the Ku Klux Klan, consisting of Confederate Army veterans, assassinated over 150 Republican Party officials and prominent African Americans as part of a successful campaign to retrain white. Yes, I remember this.
Never changed.
That's right. Yeah, that did happen. Wow. Well, Lois, you got a lot of homework.
She's got a lot of good stuff to follow up on.
I was about to say, she does have a lot of good stuff. She's got a lot of homework. Tony sent over, let's see, Lucy and family in 1885. Is there anything else you guys can think of? Does have voter registrations? I think they do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. 2-8 Florida is in Jackson County. I heard of that.
What? What is that?
2-egg Florida. It's a little
2-egg.
Town.
Oh my Lord.
Well,
that is hilarious.
It's an unincorporated community. Jackson County, I think, broke off from another one, but I'm going back a little far. But
go to the wiki to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at is the wiki, because it broke off of, was it Escambia County, and next to Duval and out of the St. John's. Oh, it's named after Andrew Jackson.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he was a governor for 6 months.
Okay, well, then that's something else to consider, your county history, right? You got to remember, you got to look at the timeline of when the county was a part of another county, or maybe if it was an original county, and because you may have to search for records in those various places based on the year. So that's something also to consider is when the breakoff happened, especially too when you're doing slaveholder research, because you might be looking for slaves in slaveholder in Jackson County, and that county may not have existed until after the war was over. I'm just saying hypothetically that might not be the case, but.
No, but you never know where records get sent. And I just posted another interesting fact to also look and talk about migrations. Jackson County has got two big, Swanee River is big. Y'all heard of the Swanee River. And the Choctawhatchee River is also there. So I'd look into the industry and occupations and stuff. You've got two rivers there and see what might be going on. And might be a reason why they moved them slaves there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, more land on the river, something. But I think Jackson's got a good website too for Jackson, and I'm sure she's probably looked at.
I'm sure old man Barnes was prominent enough. There's a bio on this man.
And that Revolutionary War, whoever he was, I'd follow up on him too. But the roots of North Carolina, and again, remember that was Judge Nixon's folks came out of, what was it, Alabama to somewhere else, or North Carolina to Alabama? And it was a migration. They picked up some land, and I don't remember why, but he had moved all his slaves. General Cox here in Virginia, his slaves, 50 of them, walked from Fluvanna County, Virginia, to I think it's Holt, Alabama, or something. Hopewell, I think it is, Alabama. They walked. He had picked up some land, and he had a brother that went out there ahead of time. So again, linking back to searching the whole county.
Okay, folks, try family search for Arthur Barnes. And of course, they mentioned the same Florida State Census. Father Jordan Barnes, mother supposedly maybe Reginetta or whatever her name is. Then there is the Florida deaths. Okay, 1939, Arthur Barnes, and he died in Mariana, Jackson County. Actually, it's April 1938. And Father Josh Barnes, Mother Rosetta. And so take a look at family search. And yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff to go on. And we may have actually answered her question there. Is she on Twitter now? I don't see.
Yeah, but she got to build.
Taking notes. That's what I think she is, because we haven't heard from
She's
her.
flatlining with all this stuff.
Yeah, she ain't got.
Faint it away.
I was about to say she ain't got nothing. Her wig is across the room. I think if it ain't, it needs to be, because honey, we came and shook up her whole world. She like, oh Lord, I got some issues.
I know. I started looking at my Barneses from Alabama and Florida. I'm like, wait a minute, I need this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well let me go back, because we all gonna. I'm just gonna tell you right now, Lois, we're all in this deep right now. That's why we had to rein ourselves back, because we want to find the people. We're trying to get to the slaveholder. It's probably gonna crack off like when we stop broadcasting. I'm gonna tell you right now. We'll send over. We've got the links and stuff, so we'll send you over the information that we did uncover. But hopefully we Oh, interesting. Okay, Tyrone Craft, who always is, he acts like he is not a good resource. Tyrone Craft comes in the chat room and just blows the whole situation up. So he said, there's a lot of movement between Jackson County, Florida, Decatur County, Georgia. Remember that some of those folks had Georgia birthplaces.
They did.
And Dothan, Houston County, Dale County, Alabama in his tree. And of course, James always says check the railroads, which is, absolutely correct. So we worked this Ask Mariah to death, didn't we not?
Found the marriage certificate also.
I was about to say, you found the marriage certificate for Arthur and Lucy?
Lucy Pittman and Arthur
Barnes. Yeah, they had found that. She tweeted that they found that.
She had already found that. Okay.
They already found that. Just so you know, like I said, Lois, we're probably going to work this until like forever tonight, because we're too entrenched in it at this point.
We're not going to sleep now.
We're not going to sleep because we take
hang with me, because I'm not going either. The flight's at 6.
So just to recap, you all, tonight, this is what we do. This is what we love to do for Ask Mariah. Is if you give us just enough of some crumbs, we will work those crumbs and put that cookie right back together as best as we possibly can. So if you have a question, conundrum, query, whatever it is that you need help with, if you're stuck, whatever it is, please feel free to submit that information to Ask Mariah. The link to submit to Ask Mariah is always in each description of every single BlackProGen live episode. Thank you so much, Lois, for sharing your family with us. We are entirely too attached right now to Arthur and Lucy, and we're not going to go to sleep tonight. I can already tell that. Moving forward, we'll talk about current events just briefly. True sent this over. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up a little bit. This is from didn't change the topic. Sorry. Don't want to attribute this to New York Times. It was actually the Salt Lake Tribune. I'll share the link in the chat for everyone else to read. If you were at Roots Tech, you noticed that there was a revamp of the first level of the family search library there in Salt Lake, and it had a lot of interactive screens and all this other kind of stuff that was there. You can go around and play. Of course, I believe that their big unveiling was at Roots Tech, and unfortunately, critics are arguing that some of the exhibit plays to cultural stereotypes. Yeah. So based on the article, it says here's how it works. Upon arriving at the new Discovery Experiences exhibit at the library in downtown Salt Lake, patrons can check out a tablet, input their LDS account number, and dock it into one of the stations. That pulls up the user's family histories. If they want, they then can take photos of themselves and superimpose them on figures dressed in native clothes from various cultures. That would mean putting white faces on black and brown bodies, some of whom are wearing attire that would be considered sacred by various societies, a bare-chested Samoan or American Indian in feathered fringed shirt. Guests can also insert their faces onto the body of, say, a Chickasaw princess, a Roman gladiator, a mariachi musician, or a British man decked out in the top hat and tails. Each page is accompanied by facts and information about that country and culture. The Samoan entry, for example, includes the statement that in the Pacific nation, quote, obesity is considered a status symbol. Anyone care to weigh in?
I'm not even going to comment on that. I don't know what, I got to watch my mouth, what the intent in the follow-up to that is. I will say one thing, is that Barnes and Pittmans are still getting married because there was one in 2016 in Jackson County, Florida.
She went completely. She just completely.
They got married. No, I'm serious. June 4th, 2016 in Jackson County, Florida. We got a Pittman and a Barnes, and they're black.
She said, we're not going to talk about that. We're going back to Lucy.
Well, I'll play off of that because I see there's a Jordan Barnes who got married in June 1866. I'm not touching that crazy.
I'm not touching that mess. And we don't need to leave that at the end. We're on a roll on the Barnes and Pittman.
Okay, we'll just move on.
We'll just move on. We'll move on. We'll move on. But
this week, did I?
No, apparently, because they said they weren't taking the bait. Oh my God!
No, you threw that out there. I'm not taking that.
I just had to just sit it up on the shelf.
The chat room is dying laughing right now. They think that this is. They think honey. They think it is hilarious.
It kind of reminded me of the photos that was going around replacing. You know, I saw one the other day where there was a wet nurse. It was real hurtful.
Oh, you're talking about the one. Okay, so this is actually an O magazine. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They're in this month's episode, in this month's issue of O magazine, a photographer was tasked with changing cultural, basically, norms that we have and flipping the race of the people. So the image that they have that's displayed first that everyone's been seeing is the one where it's in a nail salon and there are Asian women sitting in the chairs and there are white women who are in the position that typically we usually see Asian women in. The image that True references, there's a African-American woman who's nicely dressed and she's in her parlor and she's doing her thing. And there's a wet nurse that's white and who's breastfeeding a black baby. And it's really meant to just challenge visually our perceptions. And so I love it. I think it's brilliant. And, you know, it's the same thing as that image I saw. Yeah. There's an image I saw maybe about a year or two ago where a photographer actually put a person in a Ku Klux Klan uniform. They hung them up like they were lynched. And a black man who would have been in the position of being lynched held the rope and was hoisting them up. And that played on that juxtaposition thing as well. Comment from Lois. She says, and I quote, "Yes, my wig is off."
This is how we roll, y'all.
This is how we roll.
Ask Mariah. This is Ask
Mariah. Absolutely. And
they got a chapel, a Pittman Christian Memorial Chapel.
We keep going back to these Pittman people.
Oh my gosh.
And wait a minute, hold on. She says yes, they are still marrying each other. She co-signs that as well.
They're married.
Oh my gosh.
Marrying cousins.
They are. They are. All right. So before we log off and continue to jump into Arthur and Lucy's world, we're just going to remind you about our upcoming episodes of BlackProGen Live.
Part 2 of the Barnes
yes.
family saga.
Well, let's not leave out the Pittman.
Yeah.
Next week on Barnes Meets Pittman.
There you go.
There we go. Our next episode, 2 weeks, BlackProGen Live. Everyone is cracking up. Oh my gosh, the chat room is just flying.
They want us to stay on Ask Mariah.
They do. But let me get through the announcements for everything. If you guys want to hang out with us looking afterwards, you totally can. But just to let everyone know, 2 weeks from now, Thursday, everybody listening, Thursday, not Tuesday, June 8th, same bad time, same bad channel. I will be broadcasting live from the Southern California Genealogy Jamboree. Some of our Genia Buds will also be there, including Linda Harms Okazaki, Kalani Mondoy. I know that our buddy from Topeka, Kansas, Sherry Camp, will be there. Janice Lovelace. There'll be several people at Jamboree. Hopefully I can bring them in to have a good time with us on BlackProGen Live, broadcasting from the Southern California Genealogy Jamboree. Don't miss it. As I mentioned before, Thursday, not Tuesday. Oh Lord, there are jokes cracking off in the chat room right now. Tyrone said Barnes and Pittman equals Noah Lee. If you watch Underground, he's making like a statement to the fact that it's going to be Barnum, or Pit Bar. We've got to figure out what their conjoined name is going to be for the next episode.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, these people are hilarious. All right. Also, research at the National Archives and Beyond. Bernice had to jump off. We were making her tired with all the Barnes and Pittman talk. She's got a show coming up this Thursday, May 25th. Greatest Genealogical Moments with Scott Fisher. We've got the next iteration of the African Roots podcast this Friday, May 26, 2017, from Angela Walton Raji. Also, don't forget to join our Genia Bud, Dear Myrtle, on Mondays with Mert and Wacky Wednesday. All right, before we get done with all of our announcements, don't forget to get the latest and greatest from BlackProGen in your inbox. Subscribe to the Lowdown today. Check the description of the recording of this and any BlackProGen Live episode for the link. Also, don't forget to tweet us. As you can tell, we read our tweets as they come in. So Lois was furiously tweeting us with Sans wig, right? Because her wig was off. So be sure to tweet us at BlackProGen and hashtag your comments with BlackProGen as well. Yes, we are a crazy group. Barnes and Pittman all day long. Sounds like we need to be at the family reunion. Because we almost earned our
think so.
Seriously.
What was it about Wiley?
Wiley is Lucy Pittman's father.
Okay.
Oh,
And
they
so-
have and they have a family website. Everybody, that's why she was tweeting us from was Barnes Gaynor.
Wait a minute. Was Wiley a football player? Wait,
I don't
Wiley
know.
Barnes, University of Alabama. Is he out of the Florida folks?
No, Wiley Pittman. It's Wiley Pittman.
It's
Lucy.
Wiley Pittman, not Wiley Barnes.
Wiley Barnes.
Not Wiley
By
Barnes.
the way, I just found Jordan Barnes, who married Cilla Godwin in 1866. Does she already have that?
Oh, well, Scylla, meaning
Scylla.
Priscilla, but it's Scylla.
It's Cilla.
Ooh,
It's
a
Scylla.
Supreme Court
I can't
case.
see her tweets, but maybe that might be that older wife that we were probably thinking may have.
That we were thinking he might have. Okay.
Were they
I don't-
in Florida by 1869?
This is 1866, this
I
wedding.
think so, because based on some of the kids' birth,
Here's some
Birthday.
names in a court case. Barnes.
They have a
jury
nice
list-
website, and they're on Twitter. They're really
they are on
doing it up for
Twitter.
their
They're
family.
doing it
What's
up.
the
Yes,
name
they
of the
Commend
are.
y'all on
website?
that.
I
What's
look.
the name
I
of the
put
website?
Jordan
Twitter.
Barnes was on. He was on the. There was a case in 1869, a jury list, and Jordan Barnes is one of them.
Mm.
Wasn't his name Jordan? We were
Mhm.
looking at.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was a Jordan Barnes. Yeah, that we were
Yeah,
checking out.
1869. I got a list here. I put the link in there.
Okay.
That's the registered voters in the county.
Yeah, that's what I
Boy,
figured there probably was one.
yeah, I think you mentioned that earlier, where Jordan, Alex, and Jordan and Stephen Barnes Jr. are on this list, and a JR and a Thomas.
Uh-huh. And the 1870 census in Jackson, you see Jordan and Scylla in their household, and they do have a
There
son,
we go.
Arthur.
Hey, there we are.
With siblings Dutch, Annie, Lewis, and Jordan.
Yeah,
There we are. Jordan and Scylla are his parents.
yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Wait. Where did you find that? Hold on. We got to get the link. Everybody's got to see this because people are hanging around, y'all, and we're almost like 20 minutes over.
Okay.
I need the link. So what? So you say
Here comes
again
the
what you found.
Okay, here comes the link. It's the 1870 census for Jordan Barnes, and he's married to Scylla. And
Which is what I figured, because remember we were looking at that 1885.
That's right.
1885 had the Henrietta.
That's right. And Angela found their marriage
I
record.
found a marriage certificate from 1866 in Jackson, Florida.
Yeah,
So they were
and
there.
then their children are Dutch Barnes, age 9, and Annie Barnes, Arthur Barnes, age 3, Lewis Barnes, age 3, and Jordan Barnes, age 2.
Yeah, that matches up with
Wow.
all the kids that are on there.
You ready for this?
Okay, so she said she did not have that marriage, so that's something else that we unearthed for her tonight.
Was there a Thomas?
Thomas Barnes. Thomas Barnes was, we think, this potential slaveholder.
Okay. Well, rumors name Finlayson's killer as a disreputable Jackson County thug. One, Thomas Barnes, and a reward was offered for his capture. 2 black officers surprised him in the year at his girlfriend's home near the Chattahoochee, which is the river.
What year is this?
1869.
Oh,
Let me
Wait a minute, you better give me that link. Hold what you got. Hold what you got now.
And Barnes killed them both.
Wait. Hold what you got.
Thomas, I think, is a white guy. Because this
he is. He is.
Yeah.
Because remember the church record that I found.
Okay, they got a picture of the man he killed.
Oh Lord. Okay, wait. Hold on. So
It's coming.
This is from
Jackson
Tony.
County.
This is Jackson County, Mariana, Jordan and Scylla Barnes.
Yeah.
And then we've got Arthur, age 3.
Yeah.
Dutch, Annie, Lewis, Jordan. This matches the 1885 census that we have.
Yeah. And
that has Jordan Barnes. Remember, I mentioned that I thought Henrietta, who's right here, was probably a second wife. That would probably be the case. We've got Arthur, Lewis, and Jordan in this household in 1885. So this appears to be the right people.
Yeah, and in 1880, you got Jordan with wife Harriet, but the children, Dutch, Annie, Lily, Arthur, Lewis, and Jordan are all there. And there's a Scylla Barnes, age 7.
Oh, named after
little Scylla. Aww.
This is
that's 1880.
This is
okay. Oh yeah. Here we go. I see that there's a 10-year-old George Barnes. All right, I'll share my screen so everyone can see this. I'm telling you, people are sticking around because this one is a good ass Mariah. All right.
And Jordan is born in North Carolina, and his father and mother born in North Carolina as well.
All right.
You know what? But hold on. Jordan. Yeah. And he's a farmer, not a farm hand or a laborer.
Yes.
I would check the agricultural census.
I would too. Yes.
Because these Barnes, I think Barnes is the slaveholder.
I think it is too.
Not Pittman. And Jackson County is truly Confederate. So I don't know as far as military. I'm looking at the U.S. Archives too.
There could have been a Pittman because on one of the marriage records I saw, there was a Pittman who was the clerk who performed the marriage.
Mhm.
and he was a county clerk.
But
So
you know
just
what?
to be Lucy's family could have been enslaved by the Pittmans. And
Correct.
obviously there was this other Barnes family that was also a family of means, so which is very interesting. Wow.
Okay, so the
Chat room is on
archives.
fire. Chat room is on fire. Just FYI.
I wish I could
I'm
see
not.
it. I can't
The
see
chat,
it.
the chat room, they're like, whoa, oh my gosh, go Shelly, go Shelly. They're like, I told them, I said, I'm telling the live chat room, I'm like, jump in, you guys. Like, don't let us have all the fun by ourselves.
That case was an unsolved case. That one I put in
Oh,
there.
for the murder of this Finlayson guy, right?
Yes, and they got a picture of him. But you know what? Oh, this is
Oh, I see
really
why
good.
he killed him. Go to the other column,
Yeah, I saw
Shelley.
it to the top.
It says that Finlayson placed himself at risk by supporting Black civil rights and the Republican Party, which we know was the Progressive Party of the era, in a region dominated by white supremacist Democrats. So, oh yeah, apparently, yeah, Barnes would not have
That's an
liked.
unsolved case.
So where we're looking
Wow.
at Finlayson?
Finlayson, I think.
Finlayson.
Finlayson. Okay.
Finlayson.
This is the person that we're talking about right here. This is Google Books, Encyclopedia of Unsolved Crimes here. We've got a native of Jackson, Florida, and they were just mentioning rumors of Finlayson's killer as a disreputable Jackson County thug, one Thomas Barnes, and a reward was offered for his capture. Two Black officers surprised him later in the year at a girlfriend's home near Chattahoochee, but Barnes killed them both and escaped once more, this time for good. In his absence, Tallahassee Democrat attributed Finlayson's murder to a personal feud. Entirely divorced from politics, it remains one of Jackson County's 179 unsolved murders from the Reconstruction era. So it doesn't really say that the Thomas Barnes mentioned here is white.
No. But you read it, he is.
Yeah, it is. It is clear that he is.
But you know what? Y'all forgot about WikiTree. There's a Barnes genealogy. Lots of North Carolinas.
Okay. Yeah, we know they're out of Wilson County. I wonder why they left.
Well,
there's a picture of Finlayson too. The guy.
Not quite sure if it was Wilson. Remember, we looked at that link. Well, it did have the same people. That's true. But I'm scanning through here. And Linda Bug Sims said, don't forget Chronicling America, too.
Right, that's a newspaper source.
Another site. So, Harrison Barnes.
So how long did
Florida
Jordan live?
Florida's Black public officials. We got a Mr. Barnes. Wait. Let's see.
Is that a book that you're looking at?
Yeah,
or?
It's a listing. Let me see. Alfred Barnes. Did we have an Alfred? He was born.
There was an Alfred mentioned. Yeah,
okay,
that was on one of the other pages.
42 in North Carolina. He's a farmer. He was alive in Jackson County in 1885, and he was a justice of the peace from 1874 to 1877.
Wow.
So
that's great.
Yeah, that's
what was his name?
Still not Alfred.
Alfred.
Okay. But we're still not getting. I got to see more to prove that Wilson was the county in North Carolina.
You know what? And something that we did not even we haven't even really factored in is location of this spot, right? We've talked about everything else except for where Mariah, Florida is. And I'll just bring up Google Maps because this,
the two rivers. Remember I talked.
So look at this. Mariah is here. Here's Alabama is right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you blow it up,
okay, zoom out and then zoom in.
Georgia is right here. So we're in between. We're basically doing 3 states here.
State area. Now zoom in again. Now, okay.
Follow the money.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let me just. I'll just pull the.
You know what? Here's another thing. George. Did we have George? George is white. Wait a minute. Oh, and he ends up in, wait a minute. Is he the one in Jackson, Florida? George Barnes. Where did he go? I just had him.
So the next major city is, I would say, Tallahassee.
That's Leon County
Mhm.
surrounding Tallahassee.
Right.
Yeah. Pensacola would go in the opposite direction, but I would have put my money on Panama City
I hope my daughter's not listening because that's where I'm
Tallahassee.
going tomorrow.
Well,
That's
just blurt it on out there.
no, she's in the bed. She's in the bed.
Be in the bed.
She starts work. She works for DEP for Florida. But I just found a George. Now you know that My Heritage stuff. There's a George Barnes. He lived in 1900. Wait a minute. He was born about 1840, North Carolina. He married somebody. Then they were in Jackson County, Florida. It's under My Heritage under George Barnes, but I'm going to have to search the page because I can't find him.
In the meantime, a little bit of information about Thomas Barnes, who may have been the slaveholder. In 1860, he had 70 slaves and 12 slave houses on his property.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it said in the county tax book that he had 1,000 acres and 77 slaves. And so chances are this is possibly the same guy. Of course, one would really have to go into a lot of research to determine that. But I think this guy, yeah, I think you were right about that slaveholder migration.
Yeah, she's gonna have to do some search on the white folks there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's that what I just pulled up there, and that is Barnes also, and who his wife is, born in North Carolina. So we know the Barnes are definitely rooted in North Carolina, and who he marries, Tully, and she was born in Jackson County, Florida. And let me see. George passed away 1977 at the age of 33.
I found it.
And that's it. Yeah.
It's Hertford. It's Hertford County.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't set
the
on Wilson
colonial
yet.
and political history of Hertford County, issue number 3. Judge, let me share my screen so y'all can see what I'm reading.
What site you on?
This is Google Books.
Okay.
General W.D. Barnes of Florida was a native of Hertford County. His parents were Thomas Barnes, wife Sarah Barnes, and Deans. They lived about 5 miles from Murfreesboro at the home of late W.T. Brown. Miss Sarah Barnes is the daughter of old Sheriff Thomas Deans. Thomas Barnes and Mrs. Jordan Gatling were brother and sister. They moved to Jackson County, Florida in 1847, while their son W.D. was at the University of the state. After he graduated, he studied law and located in Marietta, Florida. He was in the Confederate Army and was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General in the Army after the war. He devoted himself to his profession.
Wow.
I say this is kick butt and take names.
So, yeah, let's see that screen again one more time.
And that links back to that other Google book in the military. Is that the same military guy we posted earlier, the colonel?
General W.D. Barnes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because he also had the same connection. So
okay.
Yeah.
This book was published in 1906.
Okay.
So when did Thomas moved in 1840 something, or
yeah, they're saying 1847.
To Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, I see where you got it. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, she'll need a screenshot of that.
And of course, there's Find the Grave. So, and again, I'd be looking at DNA too. This big old family.
Yeah, that is a good question to see. Have they gone that far? They seem so organized. I'm just in love with their website.
Lois, put up your website. I can't see our
I think
website.
Lois,
Oh, did we put it up
I
here?
think Lois indicated
Shelley,
that she
I was
hasn't.
gonna say,
Yes, ma'am.
Angela, look at the Twitter profile. It's on the Twitter profile.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
talking to
All right.
me?
Oh, I'm sorry, Angela. Yeah, she was asking about their website.
Oh, y'all, and on
Let
the,
me go to Twitter. And is it called the Barnes family or something?
Yeah,
Burns
it's
Gang,
the
I
links
think.
in the chat.
It's the links
our
in the
chat.
chat room.
Okay.
oh, cool.
And
Okay,
once you go there, you to her Twitter account, she has her family website linked to her Twitter. You
Okay.
just click it and it takes you straight there.
I just
They're on Facebook as well, but I'm pretty sure that's mostly for family. But
all right.
Mhm.
And True, to answer your question, in the original slides in her query, it says no one has taken the autosomal test yet.
Oh, that's
Wow.
right. I remember that.
now that's going to be a good one at that reunion. Get a kit
I
for that
Mhm.
oldest family member on
catching
that
every one of
line.
those cells and start with the
Yeah.
oldest. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
interesting.
Here we go.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
so
on their Twitter page. I'm trying. I don't. Do they have a Do they have a website?
Yeah.
there,
Yes.
yes, it
Let
is
me,
there. There's a link.
Okay, all I'm seeing is the 20. Oh, okay. .com. I see. Okay, I see the link now.
So I see. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Several barns are on the agricultural census that
Yeah.
Tony found. So we'll share
Oh.
that before we
Hey, you
get off for the
guys.
evening.
You guys, in the 1880
Agriculture.
census, yes, but in the 1880 United States Census, Jordan Barnes, age 25, born in North Carolina, his home in 1880 is Wilson, North Carolina.
So we go back to Wilson again. And
Look at
Hertford.
that.
Are they next to each other? Let me pull up a
They may
county
be
map.
near each other. Yeah.
They gotta
Yeah.
be next to each other. North.
Let's see. This
Carolina.
1880 agricultural.
All right, let's
This
see.
is. Let's see. Hold on, because sometimes ancestry is weird. This is saying Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's saying Georgia.
I don't know
It's
why.
saying
I
Georgia.
have one like that too. That
Yeah,
just
where it
not even know
says the
near where we're
wrong.
supposed to be.
Yeah, no, this is Jones County, Georgia. This is not
Shoot.
Florida.
Okay.
Okay, Yates. Let me find this. There's
All right,
Wilson.
5 more. We're gonna go 3 more minutes.
What was the
minutes.
other county besides Wilson?
Wilson, Hertford.
Okay, I see Wilson is towards the east side of North Carolina, next to Nash, Edgecombe, Pitt,
Edgecombe. Yeah, that's our
Green. But I'm not seeing
Tyrone says
Hertford.
that's still farming country today.
Let's see. So Wilson is right next to Green, Johnston, Nash, Wayne, Lenore, but I don't see the other name yet.
Hertford County. Is that I thought that was a town. Maybe it is a county.
Is that the town? Because I'm not seeing it as a county. Do they have a list? What was it? Hertford? Hertford? Nope, there's a Hertford. Let me find it in the direction. It's not around it for circling. Montgomery, Scotland. So it's got to be one of these little off to the side. Okay, Tyrone, you need to tell me where I'm going. Get me to the east side or the west side of the state. I see Henderson.
They're begging for 10 more minutes, please. They want to watch our process.
Northeast corner. I see Ash, Wilkes, Surrey, Rockingham, Yancey, Mitchell, McDowell. McDowell was in one of those things we posted. No, Tyrone, I'm not seeing it. Are you making this up?
Northeast County.
No, he said northeast corner.
Oh, near Berkeley.
Oh, northeast. I see it next to Gates. Oh, they're not too far.
Oh Lord, okay, hold what you got. They over here making claims on Find a Grave. Lord, see, we gonna end
Yeah, I
up on
saw
here
the
for another
Find a
3
Grave.
hours.
That other Thomas Barnes or whoever he is.
Yes, whoever this is, there's a Thomas Barnes, born Hertford
I
County,
know.
that says that he was lynched by a group of armed blacks.
Yeah. The
Wow.
Barnes family.
What?
Oh, you mean the folks? You mean the brothers got back at old Thomas for killing some of those? Oh my goodness!
See, I didn't say that.
Oh
I did not say
my!
that.
Go Barnes.
Wow!
This was
Wow.
1872. The book that you
Okay.
posted, Shelley. Let's see. I gotta scroll back up to get to that
Yeah.
book.
That was 1869, the unsolved murder of
Yes,
Of the guy that was
but they
basically like
remembered.
in support of the Republican Party.
yeah.
1869 was when he was killed.
When they killed Finlayson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when they killed
That's all
Finlayson.
the big rioting stuff going on. That's why I still
Mhm.
think, you know what? According to the one, it said they came into Jackson in 1847.
46, 47. Yeah.
46 or 47. So they are still in North Carolina. I would find out what else was going on besides the Klan stuff. But I'm just saying,
Mhm.
was there other significant stuff going on? Maybe the Barnes had to go. You know, maybe it wasn't an adventure for more land or something like that, because it looks like they took the county with them. And it might have been religious reasons why they left. Because I see Hertford, and then you can go Hertford, Halifax, Edgecombe, then there's Wilson. And Green is below Wilson, little corner. So anyway, interesting. Okay.
Right when we think
That's
we're
great.
done, something else is gonna pop up. I already know, because it's been like this the whole night.
This family's got a whole lot of good stuff in it, though. This is absolutely amazing. So, on the
Yeah.
Find a Grave thing, is that a headstone for Jordan?
That was a headstone for
Oh, it was a
Thomas.
headstone for Thomas.
Thomas Barnes.
Oh, how interesting. I'd like to see that, though.
Mhm.
Was there
Can
a
anyone
picture
post
of
that link?
Thomas?
You want to look at the headstone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Let me go back. I'll for Find a Grave, and I'll also put
Thomas is the daddy, Jordan's daddy.
that. Nah, you think
No,
he
that's
is
the white guy.
the slaveholder. You think
Okay,
The
I
slaveholder
thought I saw a
who they
picture
think
of
killed
Thomas.
Finlayson.
Nah, that was the Finlayson
No,
guy
that was the picture of Finlayson.
that died.
Wait a minute.
The one who was the murder victim.
Florida
in that book.
antebellum plantations. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I just saw that.
You
Shelly,
saw?
stop stealing my links. Stop stealing my links.
I'm not stealing your links here.
You are, because I just found it. And the people, let me tell you guys, the viewers have not left. They have not left.
God.
It's the same. They said it's like a good book. It just keeps unfolding. You just so you all know, like seriously, this is not planned. Like we did not get any of this information until the name was released tonight. Just so you know. Okay, so I found Race, Slavery, and Free Blacks petitions in Southern courts.
Oh my God.
Is that what you came across? I found that too.
But location. Thomas Barnes is being listed from North Carolina, the father of Edwin and William D. Barnes. There is a Thomas Barnes also listed in Marion County, which is not far from Jackson. These people are listed on the Jackson, Florida 1850 census as living with Thomas Barnes. So you got Thomas Barnes, Sarah, Edwin, Christian, Joseph. These people are listed on 1860 with Thomas, Sarah, and Mary. On the slaveholders in Jackson County, Florida in 1860 list, Thomas Barnes is listed as having 70 slaves in 12 dwellings. You said that earlier.
I said that.
Thomas Barnes.
Right.
Okay, the tax book.
Yes,
We got that. Then we got Jethro Barnes. He's from North Carolina. It's not saying what his relationship is. The agricultural census, he had 50 improved acres 110 unimproved. Now we got Richard and Martha. Oh, this is a laundry list here. Benjamin, E.W. I'm trying to see if anybody says where in North Carolina. Here's William D. Okay, William D. He's the son of Thomas and Sarah and brother to Edwin. Oh, was he a lawyer? He had 12 slaves and 3 dwellings. You mean he had 12 people up in 3 houses in the bushes? So that's another good site. I put it in there if you didn't, Nika.
See, what you got?
The antebellum plantations.
Yeah, I just hit newspapers.com. Got an obituary for Thomas Barnes. This is like a good book.
Here killing people and stuff.
That's what I want to know too. Here we go. Thomas Barnes, one of the oldest and most. This is a reprint from the Tallahassee Floridian. So I'm thinking that Floridian. I'm thinking that that's probably the publication we maybe need to start with. Because I'm not finding anything for Mariana online, at least not yet. Mr. Thomas Barnes, one of the oldest and most highly respected citizens of Jackson County, died on the 2nd instant, which of course would be June 2nd, 1872, at Baltimore, to which city he had gone in the hope of obtaining relief from a disease under which he was laboring. Interesting. I just want to point this out. Actually, let me read the obituary and let me go ahead and snatch edges on that find a grave notation.
Yeah.
So, a disease he was laboring, his remains were brought back to Jackson County and interred on the 8th instant at Greenwood. The deceased was the father of W.D. Barnes, one of the ablest and most distinguished citizens of West Florida, and was universally respected as an honest and upright and most Christian gentleman. His death will long be regretted by the community in which he lived and which his virtues served so much to adorn. Mr. Barnes was a native of North Carolina and went from Hertford County to Florida nearly 35 years ago. In both states, he has left an honestly earned reputation for sterling worth and strict integrity that few men attain and fewer deserve. The reason why I'm going to snatch edges, and let me just put myself back on camera because I'm going to snatch some edges right now, is people who are into cemeteries post on Find a Grave. They may not necessarily be genealogists or family historians. They may be folks who are just interested in the headstones, maybe architecture, other stuff like that. And sometimes this is what happens when you perpetuate a myth. Let me go ahead and pull up that Find a Grave because it's for the same exact person. And if you were not evaluating your sources, as a matter of fact, this is a great time to plug the webinar that I'm going to be giving tomorrow called Beyond the Surface, which teaches you to analyze your genealogical documents. It'll be taking place tomorrow night at 8 p.m.
So what?
It's basically So What 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? This is the reason why you have to analyze your sources. Because if we went strictly based on Find a Grave, and let me share my screen again, this Find a Grave notation, it's got the correct date of death, right? Mentions birth, Hertford County. We know we have the right person. But here, this little line here is mentioned, and it says lynched by a group of armed blacks.
I still can't get past that.
The newspaper account does not say that. It says he was obtaining, in the hope of obtaining relief from a disease from which he was laboring.
That's very
just in case you
Brian Hodges
again
posted this. I'm wondering what his source was.
What inside scoop does Brian have? Because based on the newspaper account, and this is third hand, you got to remember, because the original piece was posted in the Tallahassee Floridian. This is from the Daily Journal in Wilmington, North Carolina. But it does not mention a lynching or an assault or what did they say? Lynched by a group of armed blacks.
You can leave notes on that.
In there.
My slave owner is mentioned just like that in the newspaper account, but he was doing all kind of other dirty stuff. Those biographical sketches of those slave owners, get me every time. And then he was saying too that he was in the war. So I'm wondering, does he take someone with him as a, how they do?
As a body servant.
As a slave, as a body servant.
Who were all those
Probably.
black men that was
Oh,
under him?
sucker.
You have to check that to see if they went or had anything to do with those Civil War while he was there at the same time. So
Wow.
You got that fanning going on.
I know, because that last line always gets me. That he was lynched.
Jesus,
Right.
be about 25 rocks.
That's almost like starting like the myth of the Black Confederates. Now
Yeah.
you're gonna have these poor slaveholders being lynched by armed Black people.
Yeah,
really.
because and perpetuating that myth.
But the family, that's so interesting. Someone in the family
Somebody know
has been a part of this because they put all these links to other relatives, children, and the spouse. This is fascinating. Very, very interesting to read that.
Colonel James.
Anyway.
Colonel James Pittman was a wealthy plantation owner in Jackson County.
Let me get a picture.
Colonel James J. Pittman.
And how long has that headstone been there? Was that put up there by somebody in the 70s or the 60s?
Nah, it's looking like it's...
That's an old stone.
You got to analyze all of that, though. Mm-hmm.
On Mason, definitely. And so...
All right, where did it go? They're at the Florida State Archives. Again, Pittman was a plantation owner. These could be sisters, brothers, whatever, these Barnes and Pittmans.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they seem to have done the same thing. Because this Lawrence County, a brother, Blackshear, Greenwood, Pittman, Colonel James Pittman, wealthy plantation owner. He married Martha Whitehead Dickens. They had several children. Oh, he was he got killed in the Battle of Manassas, Virginia. I keep thinking, every time I hear the name Pittman, you know who I think of?
Miss Jane.
Jane.
Yeah.
Hello.
Miss Jane. Yeah.
So Mr. Pittman was a big plantation owner too. So I'd have to go back and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, slavery. Oh, here's Florida Memory. Let me see what they got. Because the Pittmans is in there. John D. Pittman.
I feel so bad for True with these hot flashes.
Girl, it's hot.
I've been there. Very familiar.
Ooh, let me stop. I didn't know I was being a nuisance here. Hold on.
she had to mute herself.
Okay. You can tell we're all getting deep into some records now because everybody's quiet and just doing all this stuff.
You see Tony completely shut her camera off because I'm
sure.
Yeah, no, she said she's searching the index of the records of antebellum Southern plantations to see if any Pittman or Barnes records are in there.
That makes sense. But you can tell how people are just deeply in it now. So what part would we say that part of Florida is the Panhandle or Pensacola's the Panhandle? Okay. It is okay. Because I was just trying to geographically get a map in my head on what part.
Let's see. Okay, you found that link.
Lord.
On
Florida Memory, Arthur Barnes, World War I service card. Branch Army, race, ethnicity, colored. City of birth, Archer. Now, I don't know where that is. City of Residence, Palmetto, Florida. Okay, so I'll start looking into that.
Okay.
This is interesting.
Well,
Wow.
chat room. People are hanging with us, y'all. They haven't given up on us.
Who was it that found that find a grave link? Was that somebody in the chat?
No, I found that.
Oh, you found the find a grave. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm just curious. So my thing is so slow because I was trying to pull up site and it's just not moving.
I got so many
Now-
links open. I had to bookmark a special tab.
I'm the same way too. Are we all looking? That's not close. This notation that somebody found on this website of slaveholders, where they mention Thomas Barnes being in Marion County tax book, and they said it could be they said it could be the same person, but I'm like, I don't know. That's 300. How many miles between the two? 232 miles. That's kind of
Where
far.
do you live? Where was that? That was what part of Florida?
Well, they were saying that there was a Thomas Barnes in Marion County, and then there was a Thomas Barnes in Jackson County, and it's like 238 miles between. I don't know. I'm not really feeling that.
Well, see, there's Marion County, but there's the town of Marion or Mariana or something.
Well, yes, I was gonna say in Mariana. Yeah.
What type of military record was that again?
It
She
was
found World
Army.
War One.
That was
World
a
War
draft,
One.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it was a service card. The Florida Memory Project has the actual World War One service cards, but that's when I looked at Archer, Florida. That's down in Alachua, and that's a good ways away from.
Different part.
Yeah. Now, the Florida Photographic Collection has a photo of Marion Essex Barnes in Tallahassee, Florida.
Arthur didn't pass away to what, 1938 or something?
Yeah, that's what we found.
We have a picture of Arthur. I'm beginning to like Arthur. I'm beginning to
Me
think of him as an
too.
uncle. We need to see.
Yeah, I don't want him to go.
Picture. Come on, Lois. Y'all have one on the website?
I was gonna say you might need to go ahead and tweet her and say, hey, can you send us a picture of Arthur? You see, everyone, you see how attached we get. It's just like if you're going to Maggie, just anticipate this. This is what the evenings are like at Maggie.
Oh yeah, we'll be out in the lobby and take over the hotel.
Yeah, take over the hotel lobby and doing this. Old Confederate soldiers and sailors home. Confederate pensions. Anybody check those for Thomas? For any Barnes?
Not yet.
In Jackson?
Would he have needed a pension? He was a wealthy guy, so would he have needed a pension?
We'll see. I'm gonna look for Barnes in Jackson County.
I'm looking at 1867 voter registration, but not coming up with anything for Barnes.
Sort of thing on vote suppression is nothing new.
No, you have our Leon.
Oh hell no! I'm thinking of hanging.
Goes back to Thomas Barnes and the boys.
Yes.
Suppressing the vote for quite some time. Very, very interesting.
Florida memory is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, their indexing is really good.
I don't know who they used, but they did a good record.
They did
a good job. All this time I haven't even really searched Ancestry. I've been everywhere else.
Look at that link, Nika.
All right, we've got
from
Afrogenius to the rescue.
I just saw that.
Did you see that in the whole from 2008? And look at that list.
Yes.
And
I wonder why did Miss Valentia post that?
It might have been a search, or maybe it's her people. But I'm telling you, these are slaves, I think.
Because Miss Valentia's got like several, it's like 4 posts where she's talking about these barns from.
I know.
Arthur's in there too.
Yeah.
Arthur's right
know.
there.
Oh, you know what? Here's a great plug for Afrogenius. Let me
And
go
there's-
ahead and share the screen. So if you're not familiar with Afrogenius, Game Recognized Game, here's another tool for you tonight. Afrogenius has been around since Jesus. If you don't know about it, you need to get
1997. That's right.
20 years. And
That's right.
is basically it's a message board, but the messages are archived. So here we have a message from almost 10 years ago from the founder, Valencia King Nelson, where she just posted these barns. I mean, it's the same families you're talking about. Look at Arthur.
Mhm.
They're all there.
They're
Jordan
all
is
there. For
The
some
son.
reason, she just posted these, and it's like, why did you post this 9 years ago, Miss Valencia?
Yeah.
And
Somebody must have put in a query because very, very clearly.
Hi, Shannon
No, this is
Christmas.
the beginning of the thread. She did one. Two,
yeah,
three,
and there are several messages underneath this where she found additional records for barns in Jackson County.
I see what she did. You got to look at what forum this is in. Each forum, which is the, I guess, internet word
the
that
county.
means, no, it means message board. And
Yeah,
this particular message board where she posted it was a Florida message board. And
Yeah.
so she listed under the Florida category, she just decided to populate that message board with data.
That's
And
a
here
gold
we-
mine.
Isn't this
It is.
something? And she's listed all of those barns. And she just took Florida and just went through the large families in various cities. And it's wonderful what she just did. But
Wow.
and here it is, 9 years later, it's becoming very useful. So I think that's just fabulous.
I think it's fabulous.
That's a good
Because look
ending.
at Jordan. He's what, the oldest, right?
Yes.
1836.
Isn't that interesting?
I found a land patent for Thomas Barnes.
Aha.
Wow.
18.
Was this the Glow Records? Is this the BLM?
Yeah, this is Glow. There are several records for Thomas Barnes. The first 1854.
Okay.
This is for several several different plots of land. I'm going to pull all of them up. This one is 159 acres.
And what year is this? 1850 something?
Yeah, 1854 is the issue date, and it's right outside of Greenwood, which we've heard that mentioned tonight quite a
Mhm.
bit. Not far from Mariana. I'll share the link for the 159. There's several land patents for him.
He owned the land, I tell
I
you.
didn't get to get mine at Roots Tech. Wow.
You didn't
Oh,
get
I
what?
got mine.
I saw they were given, or was that at that was at when we were at Maggie.
It was at Roots Tech. No, they didn't.
Was
They
it
were
at
supposed
Roots
to
Tech or
come to Maggie,
Maggie?
but they didn't.
What was that?
Okay.
So
They were at
what they're
Maggie,
referencing, what they're referencing is that sometimes the Bureau of Land Management will come on site at genealogy conferences and give out official embossed copies of the actual land patents if you have one for your ancestor. And so what I just did was this is a site on the Bureau of Land Management website. It mentions Thomas Barnes and a couple of Treadwells are mentioned here. And the thing about this is when you get to your patent details, you can actually map out where the parcels of land are if you click the map buttons here on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And here's Mariana. And then here is where Thomas Barnes' land is. And you see it's right next to where Georgia is.
Sure is.
By the water.
And it's right by the water.
What's that saying I always talk about? Follow the land, the money,
Money.
the faith, and
The water.
And you see, look
and
at
the
part
water.
of this goes into the water now.
Well,
Wow.
and that water is economics,
Mm-hmm.
What you doing, Florida? What is that?
This
She
is
got a
my
head.
Bureau of Land Management mouse pad.
Oh, cute.
I have my certificate over here somewhere.
All right, I'm looking at
I like-
1845 election returns for the Mariana Courthouse, Jackson County, and looking at a list of voters. And in 1845, You see Barnes and Pittman in there. A B.W. Barnes voted in Jackson in 1845. And
Oh, and a Pittman too.
and a
Okay.
Pittman.
Mhm.
So those Pittmans were there around the
James J.
same.
Pittman.
I suspect that the white Pittmans and the white Barnes probably intermarried as
I
well.
bet they did.
I'm just
She didn't have a
guessing, but
picture for Arthur. Just keep on working. And you never know, it might
Oh,
pop up
snap.
somewhere.
Hold what you got. Hold what you got
Uh-oh.
now.
Fine.
State of Florida, because I said we're giving the Barnes too much love here, y'all. We haven't looked at the Pittmans at all.
I'm just looking at
Right.
the Pittmans.
So here we go. Florida State Archives, record group series 90, looks like 900,000. It's Blackshear, Pittman, White Dickens, and Drew family papers.
I
We
saw
go ahead
Blackshear.
and
Yeah.
share. Yes, yes.
Wow.
Lois needs to send us flowers at the end of this. So basically, collection made up of correspondence, personal papers, business papers, etc. Colonel James Pittman was a wealthy plantation owner in Jackson County.
Yep.
He married Martha Whitehead Dickens, and they had several children, including Mary Jane Pittman. Miss Jane.
That's
Pittman,
what-
oh well.
I posted that earlier, Nika. That's what I said, that comment every time I see it.
Yes, and then
that's
we've got
posted in
who
your
married
links.
E.J. Blackshear, another
Yeah.
daughter. Yeah, Thomas White, wealthy businessman, son John D. Then we've got Edward Blackshear married Mary Jane Pittman, and they lived on Frog Level Plantation in Lawrence County, Georgia.
Oh.
So I would
here's-
also go to Blackshears for North Carolina. I'm thinking they're
Yeah.
going to be all in those counties.
Yes,
Sure,
that's
you
yeah.
could
Do we have a
something
place of
else.
origin in North Carolina that's mentioned? Anything?
We
Any place of
it was
origin?
Hertford. We heard
Hertford,
mentioned.
Wilson.
But no township.
No.
township.
No, Hertford and Wilson, North Carolina, and we saw Edgecombe, and that's right up there by Hertford.
Okay. It's Rocky Mount.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw Tyrone mention that a ways back about that. Yeah, the Rocky Mount part.
so she could search all three of those counties, because you know what, Thomas and his brothers, and the sister married one of Thomas's sister. Done married a Pittman, and that's how they connect.
Wow.
I'm making
That's
that up, but that's the logic.
It's amazing.
You know, thinking, okay, they're both big slave owners,
Wow.
and and I would search the Blackshears. I think they're gonna be, look back on those census, they're gonna be right there in that same neighborhood.
There's a murder of a Edward Pittman who was a planter in the area, but they don't know who did it.
Another unsolved one.
Another unsolved one. There's a lot of planters I mean, it was like it was going
They
down.
were really. This is kind of like an episode of Underground. Not Underground. What was the one? Was it Roots, when they were, a lot of folks were knocking off some of knocking off some of their oppressors? This is very interesting. They're trying to suppress the folks. They're quite upset.
It's just plain not having control, and what do we have to do?
Absolutely not having control.
Mhm.
Oh, no picture of Arthur. That's
I'm hungry now.
I am too.
I know.
Well, that salad gonna be tasting real good right about now.
Girl, what she said.
More high caloric than salad.
She said, you better give me better than
I
that.
might need a piece of bread.
Shoot.
Says y'all deserve far more than flowers. I just wanted to let y'all know that.
Aww.
This is great. Well, I am gonna tune out.
I was gonna say we have overstayed our welcome an entire hour and a half, and we have maintained the majority of our viewers.
Look
Wow.
at Shannon. Let there be pizza.
Yes, and Shannon Christmas came in on the tail end of everything. So I guess this is nothing more of a display of how far we will go to help you with your query or your question. As you see, there's only 5 of us on here tonight, but we actually provided we got Lois back at least one generation. Denise Muhammad says she's making coffee.
That's what I'm gonna have.
It's gonna be up late. Yeah.
So
That
good
is
to be up
exactly
late.
what I'm
No, I
gonna have.
know.
Yeah,
I
that
know,
was-
but thank you guys for staying with us. The chatters are like, this was great. So this is how you work through issues. Everybody's got to have a community. When we all have a an
Takes a
issue,
team.
something we can't figure out, we throw it out to the group, or we have a new research area that we know somebody is really well versed in. I had a recent epiphany in my DNA results about ties to Puerto Rico, having several Puerto Rican matches. So I threw that out to Teresa and Ellen. They asked for surnames. So make sure you have a community of people that you can throw this information out to, that you can utilize as resources, because that's basically what we did. You saw how we picked up from each other all night, right? So Angela's got the baton, and she hands it to Tony, and then Tony hands it to Shelly, and then Shelly hands it to me, and then we just went back and forth. We probably ran the 100-meter relay about 10 times tonight. Everybody got the baton, nobody dropped it, and then Lois benefited from all the information that she's getting tonight. And I'm just very excited that especially for this family, they have a reunion. It's established history. They have an interest in history.
Yes.
And the fact that they'll be able to go back to their reunion and say, we've got names of Arthur and Lucy's parents. Like, we know their names now. It no longer starts with them. It goes down to us.
Scylla.
Jordan, Scylla, and Wiley.
Say their name.
And Wiley, and Wiley Pittman.
Call out
and
that
his wife.
hello. We got a newcomer in there.
I'm
Melody.
glad the audience gets to see, they get to see how this works, because we do this behind the scenes so much with each other. I know Shelly's looking at something for me right now. I'll call Nika up and say, hey, but these are why these hangouts are important to me too. This is another display of what you do when you have your community around you, and you can learn from others as well as teach other people at the same time, because I'm always learning something new every episode.
Well, it's interesting because everything we look for on the Barnes and the Pittman, you need to do the same thing on your own family.
That's right.
Whatever line you're researching.
Sometimes people need to see that visual of how we're doing this to get them, going, to keep them going, to get them started wherever they're at.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
Nika, when is the next hangout? And I'm just saying this for Melody. That's
she just came in. Well, just so you all know, if you're watching this live, you're finally getting on. It's okay. You can go back and watch the recording. It's going to be available. They all are available. And we did a super deep dive. Like, we usually never go this late, but we did a super deep dive on Ask Mariah tonight. We just all kind of latched on to Lucy and to Arthur and their families, the Barnes and the Pittman families, and we really wanted to get them back further. And it was really a team effort on this. And so this is like the after party.
Somebody wanted to be found tonight.
Exactly. Sometimes that's how it works. With genealogy, this is the thing. People want to hit pay dirt like all the time. They want to continue to get that high, but sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes other people, coming in, looking at it with fresh eyes and stuff like that. And so the next one of these we're going to be doing next BlackProGen Live episode, Thursday, June 8th. That's a deviation. We normally do either Tuesdays, some Wednesdays, very few Thursdays. And, I'll be broadcasting live from the Southern California Genealogy Jamboree. We're always going to have an Ask Mariah. So there is going to be one on the next episode. Maybe you'll get picked for that. True will be having a hot flash around this time again.
Yes. Somebody needed to have turned the air on earlier when I got started, and I wouldn't be up here fanning. It's hot.
So we do Ask Mariah every episode. So submit if there's any proof anyone needed, if they should submit their query, this should be approved, just so you see how much we work this.
Y'all hit that rewind button afterwards.
This is the proof.
But the beauty, 9 p.m. Eastern time, Melody. But the beauty is that they can keep replaying the recording to get the info.
Yes.
That's right.
And
Time
so,
stamped.
because there's massive links for these folks, and she got some great tips. I'd like to see her timeline in about a month after pulling all this stuff together.
See?
Yes,
you got
I
cream, Angela? What?
yeah, Pete, they're bringing up food in our chat. I'm just whatever,
And
not paying
somebody
attention to you
said they
guys.
had pizza, or pizza
Shannon
sounded good.
Shannon messing with us. No, I can't
Shannon
be
Christmas
nothing.
brought up pizza. But just to go back to what we were talking about, besides
Yeah.
food, we'll wrap this up. But
Okay.
we do this twice a month. So, and I always got to remind people there are 30 plus more episodes of BlackProGen Live. Where we're talking about various topics from different state-specific research to record sets to DNA to whatever. I mean, it just spans the gamut. There's so many. I mean, think about that. That's 30 plus hours and more probably of BlackProGen Live. Of course, Angela is asking for the plug for the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute. The genealogy Maggie registration closes in like another week and a half or so. June 15th. So if you are just beginning your genealogy research journey, definitely consider track 1 with Shelly. That goes over everything we're doing tonight is stuff that are skills that she teaches in that course. She so what's the mess out of you about everything. And Angela
So does
leads
Angela.
well, she does too. But Angela leads the writing track, which is basically repurposing what you found in your research, in a narrative form. So, these are things that we all, that we all do. Me and Shannon and Bernice were in the DNA track. That is full. Cannot get access into that one. We have no more space. We're gonna work the people to death. It's gonna be fun though. But anywho, regardless, if you still want to hear from us, definitely join me tomorrow night. I'll be Southern California Genealogical Society. Have a webinar tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Beyond the Surface. And it's basically is pulling apart documents, teaching you how to analyze them and capture them into your database or your system of choice. It really is, a lot of what we did tonight. So, on behalf of the panel, on behalf of the panel, Shelly,
you were digging in there. Tony mentioned earlier that she was pulling up the Antebellum book.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had it digging in it earlier. We were looking up the kinds of Gene Cooper's book.
Gene Cooper's book, which is a great book. So on behalf of everyone, us in our after party for tonight with the Pittmans and the Barnes family, Pittman Meets Barnes, the reality series. I am Mika Smith.
I'm rooting for Jordan.
I'm rooting for Jordan too. Jordan and Wiley, they're getting all the love tonight. Thank you so much for sticking around, everybody. We've had consistent viewers. You guys are awesome. So much. They loved every minute of the unfolding. That's what I was gonna say. If you give us just enough on your Ask Mariah, we will keep going. It'll keep rolling. But if you only tell us, I just want to find my mama, then you're going to have Angela with the snake face like, did they really just ask that?
She had it too.
And Bernice, do they have 1870 census? They're going to be fussing at you.
She's going to ask every record.
No, you got to give us just enough, and then we can make it roll. So. Yeah. All right, y'all. Have a good evening. Get some rest, and hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow for my webinar. With
leave me alone in my sleep now.
Good night.
About the